What up, infidels? It's a special Monday episode of the Dangerous Brown podcast. Don't really do it on a Monday. The stock market news forced me to move this till Monday. I'm excited to hear. Glad you can start your week at the sleeper cell. We normally, you normally have to wait a little bit. So this is interesting. We're gonna get right into it. It's time to start Exodus, guys. We finished Genesis a little while ago. I'm going to split Exodus into chapters of 8, so there's 5 episodes of that, and we can really delve into it. Also, because of how busy I'm getting again, it is nice to pump the brakes a little bit on reading 10 chapters and taking notes on 10 chapters. So let's start. Sorry, I have to wipe my beard. I was like, I think there's syrup for my breakfast in it. I should have checked that before I started. But you know what? This is what we do sometimes, man. As Bill O'Reilly famously said, fuck it, we'll do it live. If you haven't seen that video, search up Bill O'Reilly, we'll do it live. One of the best videos of all time. If you haven't seen it. It should definitely be on YouTube. That's one of the first, that was a big viral video way back, I think when I was in high school. God, remember Bill O'Reilly? I wonder what he's doing now. I wonder what Bill O'Reilly is doing right now. God only knows, I guess. And speaking of God, Exodus chapter 1. Let's begin. This is what I wanted to say about this before we begin, as I started it. A lot of what I know about Exodus is, I read it a long time ago in college. Obviously, it was for school, so I didn't retain a lot of it. And then if you are a Spoil the Beans fan, on the Spoil the Beans podcast, we did the episode of The Prince of Egypt, where, there was a musical version of the story of Exodus. And in my mind, I was like, there's no way they're going to take, a Hollywood, a Bible story and, Hollywood it a lot. You know what I mean? Because it's the Bible. And they'll try to stick as close to the story as they possibly can. And they kept the bare bones of the story for sure, but they definitely Hollywooded it up. It's pretty crazy. I had no idea. And the fact that people aren't mad about it is interesting. Cuz I would just assume just how religiously fundamental a lot of America is, that they would be mad that hey, you really took some liberties with the story here, and not a lot, but enough to be you changed it. You made some characters that are important in the book just really unimportant in the movie. You added some characters to make it more heartfelt, I guess. But we'll get to the differences as we come across them. So chapter 1. So Genesis, we ended with, the story of Joseph and his bros and how they're doing in Egypt and how they helped Egypt. And the chapter 1 of Exodus basically says those days are long gone now. Joseph has died a while ago. The Israelites have multiplied in Egypt. And this scared the Egyptians because if you remember in Genesis, the Egyptians already didn't like the Israelites, but they liked Joseph and his family because they helped the land so much. But now Joseph and his family are dead. Or not dead, but they've, Joseph himself, Joseph is dead, obviously. His family is still going. But they're so far away from that, they forgot what Joseph has done for Egypt, which is how time works. Time, you forget. Time heals all wounds. Time makes you forget everything as well, right? And so the Egyptians, in a position where they're overwhelmed by this new ethnic group, decide to brutally enslave the Israelites. So we're at the enslaving part, where we go right into it. The king orders all his Hebrew midwives to kill all the Hebrew male babies. Obviously, the midwives refuse to do that because obviously they would refuse to do that. They're not about to kill babies, let alone kill babies of their own people. They disobey, obviously. And then when the king confronts them, the Hebrew women, great excuse, say, the Hebrew midwives say Hebrew women are built differently than Egyptians. They're built differently, and they have babies too quick for them to snatch up and kill. They they're the Usain Bolts of baby having. One day you'll see a pregnant Israelite woman, and then 100 meters later, 9.6 seconds later, oh no, she has a baby already. We couldn't get our hands on it. I guess she lives. All-time great excuse. The women, the women in this story so far, Exodus and this first chapter of Genesis, the excuses they sometimes come up with, and the fact that these dudes just believe them, is really indicative to how these men think of these women. Right? In Genesis, you have Rachel convincing her dad not to check for stolen material because she's on her period, and that's icky. And now these Hebrew women are like, these Hebrew midwives are like, oh, our women are just too good at baby making. And these men just believe it, just eat it up. Pretty hilarious. Pretty hilarious. The Pharaoh then gives an order to throw every newborn Hebrew boy into the Nile. So, chapter 2. A Hebrew woman takes a newborn baby that she's hidden for 3 months and can't have him anymore because, they're going to be like, why is there a young boy? What's going on here? So she makes a reed basket, lays the baby in the reed, and then the Pharaoh's daughter finds him among the reeds. The Pharaoh's daughter in Prince of Egypt, it's the Pharaoh's wife. Because the Prince of Egypt has this whole thing where Moses becomes brothers with the Pharaoh's son, and the Pharaoh's son is the one that becomes like the one that Moses screws over in the end. His adopted brother pretty much, but that brother does not exist. It's just the Pharaoh. So the Pharaoh's daughter finds Moses, feels bad for him, sends him back to his own mom to nurse him, not knowing that that's her kid. And then when the child grows of age and doesn't need to be nursed anymore, the Pharaoh's daughter adopts him and names him Moses. Right. Many years later, Moses sees an Egyptian beating a Hebrew. Moses kills the Egyptian and hides the body. The next day, he stops 2 Hebrews from fighting, and they tell him, hey, man, Moses, bro, you can't judge us. Who are you to judge us? What are you going to do? Kill us like you killed the Egyptian yesterday? And Moses was like, oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. He thought he got away with murder for a little while. He really thought he got away with murder. And the fact that these 2 random Hebrews know that he committed the murder, he's like, oh, well, a lot of other people are going to know now. There's no way. There's no way this rumor hasn't spread. So the Pharaoh seeks out to slay Moses for killing the Egyptian, and Moses flees to a place called Midian. He helps the daughters of the priest of Midian water their flock. So as a result, the priest of Midian invites him to his house, breaks bread, and offers him a daughter, as you do when someone helps you water your flock. You go, oh, wow, that's so kind of you to help me water my flock. Please, here, have sex with one of my daughters. As is. So he ends up marrying the Midian priest's daughter, Zipporah, has a son with her. Oh, yeah. Well, maybe I misspoke. I said it wasn't the Pharaoh's son. It totally is the Pharaoh's son. I'm an idiot because the Pharaoh dies. The original Pharaoh dies. So, hey, sometimes I get things wrong. At the end of the day, I am just a comic trying to read the Bible. At the end of the day, that's who I am. So, the Pharaoh dies, and when the Pharaoh dies, God finally remembers his covenant with Abraham. Think about that. The dude makes a covenant with Abraham, promising safety and all that for his future generations, and completely forgets about it, lets him get brutally enslaved, and it has to wait for the Pharaoh to die before God's like, oh yeah, I remember this. And as much strife and as much controversy that Israel is sort of in now, and then before that, all the stuff that were happening to the Jews before that, I would say God still kind of has to fulfill his covenant with Abraham's people. I don't think he still has come through on that, if I'm being all the way honest. I mean, if I was Abraham, which you can't question God, obviously, but if I was Abraham, I'd be like, yo, what? This is what it took you to remember? The Pharaoh that brutally enslaved my people had to die before you're like, oh, yeah, I should do something about that promise I made him. Chapter 3. That was the end of chapter 3. So Moses is leading his father-in-law's flock into the mountains in Sinai, or Horeb as it's called. And I go back and forth now between the King James and the New Translation just to like get a vibe of it. God spoke to him from the burning bush. This is the burning bush time, chapter 3 of Exodus. This is where we get it, the famous burning bush. If you're a stoner, you've heard many a joke about how Moses was a stoner because he burned a bush and spoke to God. It's a very famous scene. People know it. This is the baby in the reeds is a famous scene. Exodus is probably one of the more famous books, right? It has all these iconic scenes in it. More so than Genesis. Genesis has, Adam and Eve and all that, but like the story of Joseph and the story of, like, they're big, but it's not as iconic as the story of Moses. There's so many. I mean, we're on chapter 3, and we've already had the baby in the reed, the burning bush. There's more coming. God promises to deliver the Hebrews to the land of milk and honey, which, if I was a Hebrew right now, like as I said, I'd be like, hey, when is that going to happen? That still seems like it's far away. So he sends Moses to lead the people of Israel. Moses asks, Moses is like, well, who am I to talk to the Pharaoh? Because God wants Moses to go to the Pharaoh, and God's like, I'll be with you. And Moses asks God what to tell the Hebrew people when they ask him his name, and God says, I am that I am. That's a famous line. That's caps locked in chapter 3. You can call me Yahweh. He talks about being called Yahweh. Then God tells Moses to ask the Pharaoh to let the people go. The Pharaoh will say no. Then God will smite Egypt. And he'll make the Egyptian people look favorably upon the Hebrews. They'll give the Hebrews gifts of gold when they're leaving, stripping the Egyptians of their wealth. So God pretty much lays out the game plan for Moses here. And I'll talk about this. That's the end of chapter 3. We'll talk about this in chapter 4. But Moses is afraid. Moses doesn't want to do it. And I thought Moses would be like, it's God, I'll rise to the challenge. But really, as you'll find out in a second, when I bring him up, I'll bring him up in chapter 4. I'll talk, but let me get to him. Let's start chapter 4. So Moses asks, will they believe me? How will they believe me? How will the people believe me? So God asks Moses to throw a staff on the ground. Moses throws it on the ground. It becomes a snake. Then he grabs the tail. It becomes the staff again. And God tells Moses to put his hand to his chest. He puts his hand into his robe, takes it out. His hand is leprous. He puts his hand back in his robe, and then his hand is regular again. And God is like, well, if they don't believe that, take the water from the river, pour it on the land, it'll become blood. And then Moses is like, well, I'm a bad public speaker, which is, hey, Moses, it's a very, very relatable fear. I think a lot of people have a fear of public speaking. It's not easy. As someone who public speaks for a living, sometimes I get nervous. Even in a virtual setting. I did a Zoom show yesterday night, so Saturday night, and a lot of you guys were there. I appreciate that. That was so dope. It was so dope logging into the Zoom show and seeing a bunch of people with my face as their profile picture. That was pretty dope. A lot of y'all were young. A lot of y'all are. I realize a lot of my fans now are young, and y'all were talking in the chat. We'll nip that in the bud. We'll learn how to act appropriately at a comedy show. It's for you're 14 though, so it's I'm not like mad at you or anything. But yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing, and thank you guys so much for showing up. And one day, Infidels will be able to sell out theaters. One day. I truly believe that, especially watching that show, having like 4 or 5 of y'all there at a Zoom show with my face as your profile picture. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. It's like I said, the sleeper cell is small but growing. It's nice to hit those milestones as a comedian. I've been working for 8 years at it, and to have 5 people come out for me is insane. Like we had some people come out for Spoil the Beans, but if I'm being honest, Spoil the Beans, they're mostly there for Derek, right? He's the star of the show. I'm not mad at that at all. But to have 5 people come out for me specifically was insane, and I cannot thank you enough. I have a show in San Francisco in a couple weeks. I don't know if it's for sure gonna happen because I'm on hold for something to film in LA. So once I know, I will give you guys the information to that. If any San Francisco infidels want to come out, you're more than welcome to. But I'll give you the information later at a later time once I know for sure. So yeah, Moses is a bad public speaker. Oh yeah, this is what I'm saying. Even before the Zoom show, a show, with I'm not even speaking in front of people. It's in the comfort of my own home, and it's something I've been doing for 8 years. I still got a little nervous. I had to pace around, go over in my head, like, oh, this is what I'm going to say. These are the jokes I'm going to use today. Like, it is what it is. Public speaking is hard, especially if you are just some shepherd on a mountain talking to a burning bush. That is a daunting task. I get it. The Lord's like, well, I got you, fam. He says that. That's a direct quote, New King James Version of the Bible. Moses is like, I'm a bad speaker. And the Lord's like, I got you, fam. It's, look it up. That's what he says. Moses had picked someone else, and God says, fine, your brother Aaron can be a spokesperson, and you just got to speak to Aaron from me. This is what the sort of stereotype of the story doesn't tell you. And you'll see this a lot in the upcoming chapters. I think we're still in chapter 4. Yeah, I still have chapter 4. But Aaron, from an outside perspective, when you're told the story of Moses, you think Moses is the one talking to the Pharaoh. You think Moses is the one doing all these things. And it turns out Aaron does a lot of the heavy lifting for Moses through most of Exodus. Or not, Aaron does most of the heavy lifting for Moses during these sort of beginning parts of Exodus when he has to talk to the Pharaoh about letting his people go. Aaron performs some of the miracles, like throwing the staff on the ground and making it a serpent. That's Aaron. And Moses gets all the credit for it in media. In the Prince of Egypt, I don't believe Aaron really does anything. I have to watch the Prince of Egypt again, but I'm pretty sure it's Moses who does everything. And, justice for Aaron. That's all I want to say. Aaron is pretty much the Samwise Gamgee of the story, where, look, sure, he's not the main guy. Frodo Moses is the main guy, obviously. But without Samwise Aaron, how far does Frodo Moses get, Moses is too afraid to talk. Aaron has to get up there and convince people. Aaron's doing a lot of the work here, and he gets none of the credit in the future. So, there's a lot of things we on this podcast. We're anti-cupbearer from Genesis, and, hashtag justice for Aaron. There should be like a remake of like the Prince of Egypt or the 10 Commandments. Or whatever that Charlton Heston movie was, where Aaron, it's told from Aaron's perspective, like a Lion King 1.5, but like a Exodus 1.5, and it's all from Aaron's perspective, and it's like a comedy. And it's like, man, I'm doing all the work, and Moses is getting all the glory. Moses asks his father-in-law to go. His father-in-law says yes. Go to the Pharaoh and show him the wonders. That's what God tells Moses, to go to the Pharaoh, show him the wonders. And God says, I'll be with you, and I'll harden the Pharaoh's heart. And say that if you don't let my people go, I will kill your firstborn son for Israel, is God's firstborn. So let my people go because Israel is God's firstborn son, and so I will kill your firstborn son. And he's asking the Pharaoh right now to go into the woods for 3 days and make sacrifices to God, pretty much. That's all he's asking for right now. He's not asking for he's not even asking for freedom all the way, which makes the Pharaoh even crazier. His decision's even crazier. Just, hey, let the people go for a couple days, make their offerings. That's it. Like, I know he's worried that they'll escape, but hey, they're brutalized slaves. A lot of them will come back because that is their conditioning. And the Pharaoh isn't really playing a good long game here. Well, at first he says no because he needs to see the miracles. But as these miracles start piling up, and as these things start happening to the Pharaoh, that he obviously should let him go. Obviously should let him go. And it's just, well, I talk about this. If you listen to the Bill Clinton episode way back when, before I started doing audio, of presidential dick energy, I talk about good gameplay. If you're a ruler, it's all about good gameplay. Clinton did this thing where he bombed Kosovo. The biggest bombing day of Kosovo was on the same day as Columbine. So the Columbine news overshadowed the Kosovo news. That's good gameplay. The Pharaoh, at the risk of angering God, does not let the Hebrews go for 3 days to the woods to make their offerings. That is bad gameplay. That is bad gameplay. The Pharaoh here, through all this, shows bad gameplay. If Pharaoh was on the presidential dick energy, he would get a LDE. Little. He's got little energy, bro. At no point do you just not even kill Moses? You make no attempt to kill Moses. Let's say you don't believe in God. Well, this guy is doing terrible things to your land, so why not kill Moses? No attempt. It doesn't make an attempt on Aaron's life. Aaron's the one telling him, let my people go too as well. It is what it is. So God tells Moses, tell the Pharaoh that. Then at an inn on the way to Egypt, the Lord tries to kill Moses. And then Zipporah, thinking very clearly, and at that moment when someone's trying to murder her husband, circumcises her son in a, a split-second decision, how you just circumcise your son, and then throws the circumcision at the Lord's feet. And the Lord's like, that's what I wanted, and doesn't kill Moses. So, if you're ever in a situation when someone is trying to kill your loved one in front of you, and you're like, this is supernatural entity feeling to this, get a sharp rock, circumcise your son, throw the circumcision at the stranger's feet, and your loved one should be fine. Just sort of an insane detour out of nowhere here. Like, there's so many questions. One, I guess Moses wasn't raised a Hebrew, so I guess that's why his son wasn't circumcised. Two, why did God, who's telling Moses the whole game plan, not just tell Moses to, hey, circumcise your son? Why does he choose to test him like this? How does Zipporah know that the best thing to do in a situation when her husband is getting attacked is to circumcise her son? And then why does she throw it at the stranger's feet? There's a lot of interesting asides happening there. A lot of interesting asides. And I know it's probably like it's God's way. God is always sending you tests and stuff, but that explains God's motives. How Zipporah knew to take a rock to her son's private area is insane. Zipporah really comes in clutch there. Steph Curry with the circus shot. How did that ball go in? How did she even figure it out? Props to her, because without her quick thinking, who knows where the Israelites would be now. So God lets them go from attacking them at the end. Aaron meets up with Moses, and then Aaron and Moses together go and convince the Israelites that God is speaking to them, and they need to go out in the woods or whatever, or go out for 3 days and make their sacrifices. So the two goes to the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh says, "I don't know the Lord," which at this point is a perfectly reasonable response for the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh says, "I will not let them go." Aaron and Moses are like, "Ah, come on, man." And the Pharaoh is like, "Well, you're distracting the people from their work." So the Pharaoh says, "Because you're distracting the people from the work, giving them these delusions of God, you're lying to them, I will tell my slave workers, my slave drivers, to not bring them straw to make their brick. The lazy Israelite slaves now must collect the straw themselves and make the brick themselves, but their quota is still the same." So apparently they use straw to make brick, which, is a question that I wasn't even going to, approach in that, where I'm like, I guess straw makes brick. Who knows? It's the olden days. They do things differently. They don't have Wi-Fi, I don't know what that has to do with anything. So they have to now, instead of getting the straw and making the brick, they have to now collect the straw and make the brick. And they still have the same quota as brick making as before, when they didn't even have to collect the straw, when the straw was collected for them. Which, was a weird system anyway. You have slaves, and you're not going to make them collect the straw. You're going to pay someone to collect the straw when you have this free labor just sitting there. But like I said, the Pharaoh, as you'll see, isn't a man of good decisions. So it kind of makes sense that they had that sort of system. Really, really underutilizing your slaves there, Egypt. Really not using them to their full potential. The Israelites complain. The Pharaoh doesn't want to hear it. They say, "You're lazy. You want to go pray to your Lord, you lazy people." And then the Israelites confront Aaron and Moses, and they're like, "I hope God judges you because you made our lives harder. Our lives are significantly worse since you confronted the Pharaoh." And then Aaron and Moses are like, "Hey, God, what's going on? What's up here, huh? You're kind of screwing us right now." But, God and making promises to Egyptians, it's a very, very thin line for God. He seems to kind of not Egyptians, Israelites. He seems to kind of screw the Israelites over with their promises. So I can see why the Israelites are mad at Moses. Obviously, it makes sense. Here's this guy talking about God, saying he'll get things done, and he doesn't. So in their mind, they're thinking, "Oh wow, this is just some weird slave politician that's come and made our life worse." And then Moses and Aaron are like, "Hey God, what's going on here? Huh?" The Lord says, "Hey, don't worry. I remember my covenant to Abraham and the Israelites, and I will deliver them from Egypt." And the Israelites, again, Moses and Aaron go tell the Israelites. The Israelites are like, "Dude, unless we see some change, we're not gonna believe it." Which, again, from my perspective, is totally fair of the Israelites. Absolutely fair of them to feel that way. And then God commands them to go speak to the Pharaoh again. And this is chapter 6. And at the end of chapter 6, it's a list of bunch of names, pretty much. It's we saw this in Genesis, where they go through the lineages of people. And so you find the lineages of, basically from Joseph and his brothers on to how you get to Moses. And you find out that Moses' dad married his aunt. Moses' dad, I think, married his mother's sister, or brother's sister, not brother's sister, father's sister. I think one of them. But yeah, that's Moses' Moses is his own nephew. Fun fact. The Bible family trees are pretty interesting. A lot of connecting lines and dots in that one. A lot of circles and triangles and weird and non-tree-like activity going on. Remember how I said the Bible is smutty and you can absolutely make pornographic movies based on stuff like that? Here's one of them. Another one would be getting the shepherd's daughter after you help, quote, water their flock. There's so many. Like I said, if there's any producers out there who has a set of stones on them that wouldn't mind the criticism of making stuff like this. There is definitely a venue here to make a lot of money and stay true to the Bible, which is pretty crazy. Chapter 7. The Lord command Aaron and Moses to go tell the Pharaoh to let the people go, and the Lord will harden the Pharaoh's heart and bring his fist down on Europe. So on Egypt, not Europe. Sorry. God clearly loves Europe. In front of the Pharaoh, Aaron's staff, or again, Aaron is doing a lot of the work right now, becomes a serpent. The Pharaoh's sorcerer does the same thing, turns their staff into serpents. But Aaron's staff swallows the other snakes. So Aaron then turns the river water in the Nile to blood. The sorcerers replicate that. So again, up until this point, the Pharaoh, if you're the Pharaoh, you're like, look, what you're doing, my guys can do. So I still don't believe you. The Nile did stay bloody for a while, apparently. And like I said, in the Prince of Egypt, it's Moses that's turning the Nile into blood, and Aaron is getting left out. It's just, and I want to hammer this over and over again, man. Justice for Aaron. Justice for Aaron. Chapter 8, Aaron unleashes a plague of frogs. Again, Aaron doing the frogs. Pharaoh begs Moses to tell God to take the frogs away, and in return he'll let the people go. Moses does this, but the Pharaoh hardened his heart, and the magicians are still able to do the same thing with their magic. But at this point, Pharaoh is begging Moses to tell God. At this point, the second you're begging Moses, you gotta let the people go. Clearly, you're dealing with a higher power than yours. Clearly. And so this just begins, this is chapter 8 now. This just begins just a string of rash decisions and terrible decisions by the Pharaoh. Aaron bangs his staff, turns all the dust into gnats. The Pharaoh's magicians can't do the same. Now you're reaching territory that, hey, even your magicians can't touch. Let the people go. Even the magicians are like, hey, this is the work of a god. It's stronger than us. You have to take that into account, and the Pharaoh hardens his heart. Moses tells them next Egypt will be covered in flies, which, pretty much the same as the gnats. And the flies will cover everyone in Egypt except where the Israelites live. It happens, the Pharaoh says, fine, make your sacrifices, but don't go in the woods, make them on our land. And Moses said, hey, no, we need 3 days in the wilderness, because if the Egyptians see us make our sacrifices on their land, they will surely attack us. And the Pharaoh goes, fine. So Moses then says, hey, but don't change your mind. And then the Pharaoh, as soon as the flies are away, changes his mind. Just a bad gameplay. And thus begins the sort of reign of pestilence and all these other things. The flies and the gnats, pretty similar. That will happen. You'll see all the stuff that happens to the Pharaoh. That's the end of chapter 8. So we're going to continue with Aaron and Moses really continuing to mess up Egypt here. Really continuing to mess them up. And the Pharaoh just making bad decision after bad decision. But we're here now. A lot of iconic moments. And I'm going to say this a lot. Hashtag justice for Aaron, man. Justice for Aaron. He needs to get recognized for his efforts. He's doing a lot of the work here that Moses gets credit for a lot later. To all my Aarons out there, shout out, man. Y'all are the real heroes. Every Aaron, every Aaron. That's the thing. That's how disrespected Aaron is. That a Key and Peele sketch will call him Aaron. Hey, Aaron did a lot for us. All right? And there are many people that would say black people were the true Israelites. That's how much of a short stick that Aaron is getting. That he's called Aaron in a Key and Peele sketch. Justice for Aaron, man. Justice for Aaron. Guys, I'll see you Monday for another Monday check-in. Monday. This is Monday. I'll see you Wednesday for a Wednesday check-in episode. We'll talk about the week. We'll talk about thoughts I've had. then Friday I have an episode planned for that. And then hopefully nothing big happens, so I don't have to have another Monday episode. But I'm glad you guys started your week with me. You know what it is. Rate and review on iTunes. Subscribe to the YouTube if you haven't subscribed, on Spotify, or hit the subscribe button on your whatever podcast app you use if you're not subscribed and you listen to this. Donate to Wikipedia, guys. We're trying to keep Wikipedia afloat. We're trying to make the infidels the biggest, one of the biggest contributors to the world's best information site. Right now we're at 75.40. If you can spare $5, let me know. Let me know that you did it so I can add it to the count. This was a great episode. Hopefully I'll do chapters 9 through 16 a little sooner. I love you, infidels. Sleeper cell small but growing, and I'll see you in a couple days. That's it. Hell yeah. What up, infidels? It is a Friday episode of the Dangerous Brown podcast. And, yeah, I am actually recording this on Monday. I'm actually recording this before the weekly check-in episode because I will be in San Diego this weekend. So right now I'm currently doing shows in San Diego, and so I wouldn't have time to record this. I don't want to bring my equipment down because that's too much. So, yeah. So I'm recording this earlier in the week than the weekly check-in. If something crazy happens that I need to talk about happens while I'm in San Diego, you're not going to hear about it on this episode. Maybe I'll record a special episode when I get back home if something that crazy happens, or you're like, oh, man, Hassan, what do you think about Urkel being a pedophile, or whatever happens. Did you hear Tim Allen spontaneously caught on fire? What are your thoughts? Then I'll answer them in a sort of special episode. But yeah, if something crazy happens, I won't be talking about it in this one. This is going to be a pretty quick one. I hope we're doing Exodus chapters 9 through 16. All right, so let's get back into it. If you wonder where we left off, I did Exodus 1 through 8 a couple weeks ago. Go back and listen to it. The last thing that happened was a plague of flies. Moses hit the Pharaoh. Moses and Aaron. Again, Aaron is the unsung hero in all this. Justice for Aaron. Hashtag justice for Aaron. Justice for Aaron. He really, throughout the years, the Aaron name hasn't got its proper due. And, yeah, I just wanted to, any Aarons out there, you're seen and you're not forgotten. Not by the sleeper cell here at the Dangerous Brown podcast. We stand by you. We stand by any and all Aarons. Okay. Let's see. Genesis. So chapter 9. Moses comes to the Pharaoh again. He keeps on talking to the Pharaoh. He goes, "Let my people go, or the Lord will kill all non-Israeli livestock." And then the Pharaoh says, "No." Now, this is a Pharaoh that's seen the gnats, that has seen the flies, which are pretty similar. He's seen the river of blood. He's seen all of that. And at this point, he's seen the stuff that his magicians can't recreate, the frogs. And after all of that, the Pharaoh still says no. So I just want to bring up 2 points at this saying no. One, it's either God is really meddling in this and is just making the Pharaoh say no. Or two, the Pharaoh feels sort of obligated. In poker, there is this sort of term called being pot committed, where you're in a hand that you probably have a low chance of winning. The Pharaoh right now is playing a game where he has a very low chance of winning. Pretty sure even he can see that. But in poker, when you're pot committed, what keeps you playing in the hand that you might not win is that you've already invested so much into that pot that a lot of your money is already in this one hand, and for you to walk away and admit the hit, it might not be worth. It might be worth just playing it through just for the small chance of you winning. And that's where the Pharaoh's at. The Pharaoh is right now pot committed. He's so committed to this line of action, to this, I won't let your people go and pray in the woods and worship in the woods and do animal sacrifice or whatever you need to do for 3 days. He's so committed to this line that no matter what keeps happening, time and time again, he has to re-up. He has to keep betting the bet that he's betting, if that makes any sense. I know that's a lot of words right there. But yeah, so the Pharaoh at this point seems very pot committed. And I don't know. If I were him, I would fold. I would be like, look, let me just lose my slaves at this point. This is a losing game that I'm playing right now. But you know, I don't know what he keeps going. He keeps going. Obviously, we know what happens, but let's get there. Um, so the Lord asks Aaron, again, Aaron, the unsung hero, my boy. I'm gonna call Aaron my boy. The Lord asks my boy to throw soot in the air, my boy Aaron, and it will cover the land and make people break out in boils. Um, and it happens, and then the Pharaoh, all boiled up, boils for days, still refuses to let his people go. Now, at this point, I get what the Pharaoh is doing. Like I said, the Pharaoh is pot committed, and we're in chapter 9 only, and he's already, like, his chips are in. At this point, it's not even like, I'm not even like, oh, Pharaoh, why don't you do better? At this point, I'm like, hey, his counselors and the important political people around him, why don't you just assassinate him? At this point, you clearly know what's going on. There's got to be some rational people that, can see what's going on. And at the end of the day, Moses is only asking for 3 days out to worship. You can live without your slaves for 3 days, to stop all these plagues that are happening. You gotta you're telling me that every single Egyptian is so subservient to the Pharaoh that none of them have even thought any sort of political intrigue, anything. It sort of reminds me of the story of the Aztec leader who just gave up everything to that conquistador Cortez, that led to the fall of the Aztec Empire because he thought he was a god or whatever. He thought Cortez was a god, and it's like no one is going to kill him. No one in the Aztec sort of political structure is going to take out this leader that's clearly leading you down a terrible path. What was the guy's name? I'm going to look it up. Sorry, I just thought of that, and I was like, I think I was gonna say his name is Moctezuma, but I think Moctezuma is the Aztec god. Hold on, Aztec leader. Let's see what his name was. I'm just gonna Google that. If it doesn't pop up, I'll never know. Okay, it was Montezuma. All right, so yeah, Moctezuma. Moctezuma. From what I've listened to and read or heard, pretty much through podcasting, really sort of got his cheeks clapped by Hernan Cortez, and that's what is happening to the Pharaoh now. It's the Pharaoh is straight up getting his cheeks clapped. Moses and my boy Aaron be clapping those cheeks, yo. And the fact that no one in the Egyptian sort of hierarchy at this point has been like, we got to do something about this. In fact, the fact that they're even letting Moses and my boy Aaron come and talk to the Pharaoh one-on-one at this point. At this point, they should clearly just slay them. Why are you not killing them? Out of reverence for God? If you had reverence for God, you would have let the Israelites go and pray for 3 days and worship. So clearly, you don't care about what God thinks. So why don't you just kill Moses and my boy Aaron instead of letting them clap your cheeks? This is biblical cheek clapping going on. Way more so than all the pornier stuff that was happening in Genesis. In Exodus, this is insane what is happening to the Egyptians, and they just sit there and take it. They sit there and take it, and they don't even let the guy who's making clearly bad decisions go. They let him keep making these bad decisions. And we'll find, spoiler, we'll find as this progresses, more and more of his advisors are like, hey, Pharaoh, please listen to Moses and Hassan's boy, Aaron. Listen to them. It's in the Bible. Moses and Hassan's boy, Aaron. In Exodus. Crazy. And the Pharaoh still refuses. Now, maybe God is obviously playing a hand in this and hardening the Pharaoh's heart, as we'll see. Again, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But still, not one set of intrigue from such a powerful nation. People powerful nations don't go down this quietly usually. But who knows? The Aztecs went down. So, anyways, back to this straight up cheek clapping going on. Next, Moses, after the boils, the Pharaoh refuses. Moses unleashes a massive hailstone. It kills everything outside. So all the non-Israeli livestock are dead, and now even Israeli livestock is dead if it's outside. The Pharaoh begs Moses to stop. Once Moses does, he goes, "Fine, Pharaoh." Guess what the Pharaoh does? Mr. Pot committed. Mr. I'm seeing this hand all the way. Mr. I'll never fold. As soon as the hail stops, the Pharaoh goes, I changed my mind again. And this is chapter 9. We still have the rest of the chapters to go. And it's very clear that someone in the internal power structure of Egypt should have absolutely dealt with Ramses. Dealt with this Pharaoh. I would, if I was an Egyptian politician at this time, I would be like, look, let the Israelites go. We'll figure it out. We got to kill the Pharaoh, and we got to end his bloodline. It's over. It's over for them. Whatever family this is, they're done. Let the power struggle begin. Because you are giving up power to these two random Israelites. You're not killing them. You're letting them talk to you. You're not listening to your own advisors. Pharaoh in a storyline filled with weak women, the Pharaoh is one of them. I'll give that to the Pharaoh. All right, Moses then returns to the Pharaoh, just able to talk to him, warning him of a plague of locusts that are going to come, which is, again, similar to the gnats and the flies, but, it is what it is. The Pharaoh's servants and officials appeal to him. You're letting them hold us hostage. That's what he's doing. The Pharaoh is inviting this hostage situation and doing nothing to stop it. And his officials are warning him that just let him go pray. And the Pharaoh will not do it. He says, fine. He tries to listen to them. I'll say this. He goes, fine. Only the men can go, though. And because I see through your evil plan. No women or kids. And Moses is like, that's not going to happen. Locusts swarm the land of Egypt, eat every plant. The Pharaoh begs Moses to end the plague. Moses does. The Pharaoh's heart is hardened by God, which, come on, God, at least give the Pharaoh a chance. God is almost like cancel culture, where you don't get a chance to be more than what you used to be. You don't get a chance to grow as a human being. God puts you back in the state of where you were. Maybe the Pharaoh here, look, again, this is the reason why I went on the rant on the Pharaoh earlier. I do not like the Pharaoh. He's not a good guy, clearly. But here is a chance for the Pharaoh to finally show some growth. And God goes, no. Remember what you said yesterday? Remember what you tweeted? I can't believe you tweeted the N-word or whatever ancient biblical version of the N-word is that makes the Pharaoh not able to grow in God's eyes. God is freaking Old Testament God is very similar to cancel culture. Very scorched earth. Very scorched earth. Yeah, so the god Pharaoh hardens heart after the locusts are gone, and then a plague of darkness comes where you can't even see your own hand in front of your face. That level of dark, except, again, in where the Israelites live. The Pharaoh finally goes, fine, you can go, but leave your livestock. Moses says, no, we need our livestock for sacrifices. The Pharaoh says no and says, if you see my face again, you will die. So finally, after all these plagues, the Pharaoh goes, hey, I'll give you one more chance or I'll kill you. Crazy. 2, Pharaoh, at this point, everything I have felt for you literally earlier in chapter 10, where the Lord hardens your heart after you let them go, is gone now. The plague of darkness, you gotta let the livestock go. The Lord didn't even have to harden your heart. You just made another arbitrary rule. Let them go worship for 3 days. If some of them leave, some of them leave. But hey, it's better than hail killing everyone outside. Because here's the thing. Sure, some of them will escape. And maybe Moses will get through to some of them. But you'll see how they react to Moses, how they handle Moses. That the Israelites are not necessarily keen to following Moses' leadership. We'll see it in a bit. They're constantly questioning him. They don't believe him. If you let them go out in the woods for free for 3 days, a lot of them who know slavery, who that's the only thing that they know, who know that they can get 3 square meals for being your slaves, will come back, and you lose what you lose. And that's okay, because you know what? At least there aren't frogs everywhere. The line of play, the pot that the Pharaoh is committed to, is insane. And again, if you're his advisors and you're listening after the plague of darkness for the Pharaoh, the Pharaoh still not allowing Moses to go, you got to take one for the team. You got to kill the Pharaoh. You have to. You will die, for sure. But if you really cared about the land of Egypt, the Pharaoh's got to go. Someone should do, what was that Tom Cruise movie? Where, he, like, Valkyrie, was it called? No, it wasn't Valkyrie. Where he's like, Valkyrie, maybe? Where he tries to assassinate Hitler. It's about the plan to assassinate Hitler. They need to do that, but a Pharaoh of ancient Egypt's version. A Bible 1.5 from some guy who is in the Egyptian official thing, a part of, the official, his cabinet or whatever. And you gotta go, we gotta kill this guy. Why is he letting this slave walk all over him like this? And why, when clearly there's the Lord is on their side, clearly there's a Lord, because he's doing all these things our priests can't, why would we want to fight that? Sorry for the yawn. I stayed up late yesterday, later than even I normally do. So that's chapter 10. Chapter 11, God tells Moses, hey, I'm going to offer one more blow, the final blow. I think we know what it is. He tells Moses to ask the Israelites to ask their Egyptian neighbors for gold and silver, because at this point the Egyptians respect the Israelites because they see what's going on, because they're the only one. The Pharaoh is the only one blind to anything that's happening. And that's the worst position to be in, because he is the most powerful guy. But the Egyptians, like the Israelites, the regular people, and the Egyptians who are about to get screwed by this last sort of plague. I mean, you guys know it. It's the famous one. We'll get to it. They still like the Israelites. Their livestock are dead. Some of their family members are dead for being outside. And they are like, we got to respect these people. And the Pharaoh cannot see it. God will kill the firstborn of all the Egyptians, even the livestock, and a wail will be heard across Egypt like none before. But the Israelites will be spared. Then the officials will beg for you to leave. Now, Chapter 11. Chapter 9, he already killed all the non-Israeli livestock. So this gives you a sort of time frame on what the plagues are happening. Because if he's killing the firstborn of every livestock, that means the livestock he originally killed had to then come back and then also have kids. So this is at least 2 years away from. So chapter 11 is at least 2 years away from chapter 9. It's got to be, because all the livestock should be dead. This is not successive. So which means that throughout whatever time in this is, the plague will happen. Moses will then give the Pharaoh time to think about what the right course of action to do, and within a span of 2 years and 6 separate plagues in 2 years, the Pharaoh still makes these decisions, dude. We talk about presidential dick energy, the Pharaoh would have micro dick energy. MDDE, dude. This is insanely bad decisions on any leader. On any leader. There is a way out for you. There is a way out. God is handing you a way out. And God is giving you time. Or Moses and my boy Aaron are giving you time to think of a way out. And you still don't do it. This is the first MDDE. First ever. It's too much. It's too much. Chapter 12. Lord told the Israelites, from now on, this will be the first month of the year, and the 10th day of each month, you must pick a goat or a lamb to sacrifice, 1 year old, with no defects. So, hey, no retarded goats. You hear me, Jews? God's watching. If you pick a retarded goat, so help you God. 14th day is the actual sacrifice. You sacrifice it at twilight, and then you take some of the blood, you smear it on your dorm frame. So you're just going through what's got to be at this holiday. This is what will become Passover. You roast the meat with fire. You beat it. Eat the meat with bitter salad greens and unleavened bread, I think. In the new translation I read, it's called bread without yeast, non-yeasty bread, but I'm pretty sure that's the same thing as unleavened bread. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But just know, if I say unleavened bread, I mean bread without yeast. But you have to burn whatever part of the animal is eaten and unused. None of what you do has to make it, so you can't have leftovers. Passover is not a leftover holiday. So that's the sort of 2 rules of Passover. 3 rules. No unleavened bread. It's got to be unleavened bread, no leftovers, and no retarded goats. Take notes. And of course, I mean retarded in the strictly medical sense, in case you're thinking of canceling me. In the there's, So on this night I will kill the firstborn of. Lord then goes on to say, on this night I will kill the firstborn in Egypt, but the blood on your doorpost is the sign to pass over you. And every year you must celebrate this festival in the Lord's honor. No bread with yeast. If you eat bread with yeast during this time, you'll be cut off from Israel. And I will look it up, or someone can mention in the comments why if you read chapter 12, the section on not having yeast is huge. No yeast in your bread. Keep it unleavened, maybe, if I'm correct in that usage. And I'm just curious why. This is a big rule. That you will hear this yeast will come up over and over and over again. And classic thing for me to say, should have looked it up, didn't. But I like leaving some questions up in the air. It leaves the comment section open. I like it now. I got a lot of DMs about the farmers crisis, which I'll talk about on Wednesday again, some more of what people told me. I like the openness of the conversation, and to look things up sometimes defeats that sort of openness. So I know some of you out there will have some idea why this no yeast is important. When the Israelis leave Egypt, they leave so quickly that their bread hasn't risen. And so maybe that's it. It's a commemoration of that. But that doesn't happen until later in the story. But God doesn't apply to the rules of time. So maybe he sees that and adds it, makes it part of the ceremony before it even happens. That's very possible. That's the only sort of theory that I have. Maybe scientifically back then when the Bible was written, yeasty bread could kill you. I don't know. But non-yeasty bread is huge in this. There can't be any trace of yeast in your home. It comes up again. On the 7th day of the festival, no work. and no work on the first day either, and hold religious assembly. So Moses gathers the Israelite, tells them this. The Lord kills all the firstborns of the Egyptians. The livestock get it again. The livestock's, the Egyptians are getting their cleats. The Egyptians are getting their cheeks clapped, but the livestocks are getting their cheeks clapped. That's the biggest cheek clapping happening in this story. The Pharaoh asked Moses and the Israelites to leave that night. They asked the Israelites as the Egyptians for their silver and gold. The mourning Egyptians who have lost their firstborn then part with all their money, which is, they're in a headspace, so that kind of makes sense. So 60,000 people left Israel after the Israelites spent 430 years in Egypt. So a couple more of the Passover rules. No outsider should be allowed to eat a Passover meal. Slaves can. It's so funny that, even though the Israelites are slaves, they still can have slaves. They still don't have to treat people better because they were treated poorly. They're still allowed to have the slaves, which I find it very interesting. It's very analogous to current day, what's happening with current day Israel, where it's like never again. But then when we have the chance, we'll use the same oppression power. He said controversially. So some things never change. History repeats itself. Slaves can have it if they're circumcised, and no uncircumcised male should ever take part in Passovers. And the Israelites are out of Egypt. So those are the Passover rules. You gotta be circumcised. No unleavened bread. No leftovers, and no retarded goats. Those are the 4 rules. 4 big rules of Passover. Exodus 13 now. The Lord asks Moses to dedicate all the firstborn of the Israelites to him. Moses tells the Israelites the Passover rules of the last chapter. And on the 7th day, you must explain to your children that you are celebrating the Lord delivering you from Egypt, if they haven't figured it out already. But yeah, that's a big thing. The Lord wants the credit for where he is due credit, even though he forgot about the Israelites for a long time. The Lord is sort of overcompensating here. It's like, you let them live for 430 years. You had to be reminded of the covenant that you made with Abraham. You completely forgot. I see you, Lord. I see you. So God led the Israelites on a roundabout way to the Red Sea, and Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, and God guided them day and night. Chapter 14. The Lord tells Moses to camp along the shore of what I assume at this point is the Red Sea. And then he hardens the Pharaoh's heart to chase after him. The Pharaoh's like, hey, why did we let our slaves go? Which I know, like I said, economically, you let your slaves go, which is going to be tough for you. You can't produce off free labor, which is pretty crippling, I think, to any economy. Like I said, there's a reason why we still use slavery today in pretty much modern day America. I know they're getting paid 4 cents a day or whatever, but there's a reason. There's a reason. It's the most economically beneficial to have slaves. And the Pharaoh's like, damn, we let him go. He says, why did we let him go? Completely forgetting, because they were clapping your cheeks. Again, this is the clapping your cheeks section of the Bible, or of Exodus, I should say. There could be more cheek clapping later, but completely forgetting all the plagues. Hey, Pharaoh, your firstborn died. Your firstborn died on the throne in a level of insane symbolism that you can't even remember the next chapter. Why did we let our slaves go? Hey, it's because everyone around you was dying and Egypt is in ruins and there's no crops and the livestock are decimated. That's why you let him go. So the Pharaoh chases the forces with all his army, which, again, pot committed. The Pharaoh is now all in on this pot. He won't even chase them. Mind you, these are slaves who have no fighting ability. There's no fighter among these slaves' ranks. They are slaves, and to send your whole army after them is insane. The level of pot commitment is ridiculous. To not even leave some of them back home to guard the empire from outside forces. You can't tell me there aren't other empires nearby that would want a little piece of Egypt. Well, you know what would be a great time to take a piece of Egypt? When the Pharaoh sent every single one of his military to chase some slaves. I mean, if I'm a nearby empire, I'm like, what did I have to do to get this gift in my hand? Thank God I didn't enslave any Israelites. I think that's all I had to do. So he chases them, and now the Israelites get scared. So the Israelites now are mad at Moses, and you'll see this in the future as we talk more and more about how the Israelites view Moses. Even though Moses has saved them, they always view him with distrust, and they don't like him, because immediately they go, "Why did you do this to us, Moses? We were fed. We were not about to be killed when we were slaves. We were just slaves." And Moses said, "Don't be afraid. God has a plan." Which at this point, if you're an Israelite, how do you not believe that? How do you not put this faith in this magic man that made it go dark, dude? Who made all the firstborns of of Egypt die, but yours stayed alive? How do you not even have the tiniest bit of faith that he's gonna get it done? Then it's the whole Red Sea thing. You guys know what happens. Moses parts the Red Sea. They cross. The Pharaoh's army chases them. And once the Israelites get to the other side, God closes up the Red Sea. Everyone in the Pharaoh's army is now dead. Egypt is ripe for the picking. Let's say this was 100% historically accurate. Well then, neighboring empires, you messed up. You had Egypt. Egypt could have been yours. Everyone in the Pharaoh's army is dead, and yet it still stands. That's if, this was 100% historically accurate, which, come on. So chapter 15, Moses and the Israelites sing a song about deliverance about the Lord and how great the Lord is, which, Mr. I Need Praise is probably loving that up there. After 3 days of traveling in the desert with no water, they come across an oasis at Marah, but the water is too bitter to drink. Again, the Israelites start blaming Moses. What are you doing? We don't have water. We're starving. Moses asks the Lord what to do. The Lord says, throw this piece of wood in the water, and then the water becomes drinkable. And then the Lord tells him, and he tells him, I guess through Moses and my boy Aaron, if you listen carefully to the will of the Lord and obey his commands, you will not suffer any of the diseases that the Egyptians suffer. So the Lord, the guy who's performing all this magic for them, in their eyes magic, these miracles, tells them, hey, just listen to me. That's all you need to do in this life. And, we're not going to come to it now, but as someone who knows the rest of the story of Exodus, they can't do it. I mean, you'll see in the next chapter, the simplest things they just cannot do. The Lord is so clear. But who knows? No, because I was going to say, who knows? Maybe they view Moses and my boy Aaron as crazy people who, how when the homeless people say they're talking to the Lord? But here's the thing. The Lord is actually performing these miracles. A crazy homeless person is different. A crazy homeless people will be like, oh, the Lord tells me the moon is going to explode and become it's actually a giant firework. And that's how we'll welcome in Chinese New Year's in 2021. The moon will explode, and it'll be Chinese New Year's. It'll be like, oh, the moon's still here. God's not talking to you. But God is clearly talking through Moses and my boy Aaron. And these people that they are giving their message to refuse to listen. Insane. We'll see chapter 16. What that's just an example. After the Lord makes this decree, they go to another oasis in Elim, which is banging. It's got 12 hot springs and a bunch of palm trees, which, Chapter 16, Israelites are in the wilderness. They got no food. They complain again, at least in Egypt when we were slaves, we had the food. There's a conservative talking point that says the slaves were better black people were better under slavery than they were free, which is a ridiculous talking point. But if you were to believe that, then I would if I were one of those people, I would turn to the Bible because you're supposed to be religious and go to Exodus chapter 16. At least we had food in Egypt. This is a dangerous line in this book. Religion is filled with dangerous lines, but this is a dangerous line. At least we had food in Egypt. The implications of the slaves saying that they were better in slavery than they were free. And, religious text is a tool of the con man. This is a dangerous line. Dangerous line. The Lord promises meat and bread. So he a quail has come into their camp, and then also in the morning when they wake up, all the dew has become this sort of flaky substance, like bread-like substance, unleavened bread. Moses says to collect the food that the God has given them, all the flaky stuff on the ground, collect it and eat it, but you cannot keep it until morning. It has to be in the night. Of course, what do people do? Having this food magically appear on the ground, and the only rule is to not keep it in the morning? Well, some of them made damn sure to keep it. And it got infested with maggots. And you deserve that. This magical food that's appearing on the ground, the only rule that's given to you by this guy who's performing these miracles, and you don't listen to it. I know this is a comment on the human condition, how we do things that are bad for us, in the face of the reality and what we're being told. This is analogous to how people really are, because at the end of the day, I'm mad at the Israelites. Listen to them. It's nothing like our prophets we have today, where we can't see the miracles or they're just crazy. No, the miracle is happening in front of you, but at the same time, I can't get too mad because that is exactly what we're like. I can't pretend that if I wasn't there, I'm pretty obedient, but if I wasn't there, I'd be like, well, I'll try to save some of this food. We've been in the desert or whatever without any food. So I get it, but they refuse. They refuse. So God gives them food for 6 days, but on the 7th day, for Sabbath, there's no gathering. So 6 days in a row, God would put the flaky stuff on the ground. You go pick it up. 7th day, there's no gathering. Yet some people still went out to gather food on the 7th day, even though they got double the food on the 6th. These Israelites are a thorn in Moses' side. Even when they just never, ever truly trust him. And maybe because they see him as the guy who grew up in the Egyptian village, so why are in Ramses' household, so why trust him? But they just make these mistakes. The food on the ground is called manna. And Aaron, my boy Aaron, my homie, my big dog, Big PP Aaron, told Big PP, Big Heart Aaron, was told to place some manna in a sacred place for a future generation, and he placed it in the Ark of the Covenant. All right. So, yeah, we made it through chapters 9 through 16. So, quick recap, hashtag justice for Aaron. Hashtag justice for Aaron. The Pharaoh and the Pharaoh is getting his cheeks clapped. The livestock are getting their cheeks clapped. And the Israelites just refuse to let Moses have it. In a sense that they refuse to let Moses be like their true leader without constantly questioning him. Chapters 17 through 24 will happen soon. I might do another presidential dick energy before that. We're on Lyndon B. Johnson. But yeah. Any sort of last sort of things. I have stuff I'm gonna talk about obviously for the Wednesday check-in episode, which I did after this, which is gonna feel weird for me, and it might feel weird to you. So hopefully nothing big happens in the meantime. Hopefully Urkel's not a pedophile or something. And then guys, tell your friends about this. The sleeper cell is small, but it's growing slowly. and I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys who liked it. If you caught me from the tea time on TikTok, thank you for giving my podcast a try. And if you like it, we're glad to have you on board. The thing we do here, because I don't have any merch, I don't have any way to support me, is I just ask you donate a little something to Wikipedia. You know, until I have merch, that's what I'm gonna keep doing. We're at $100 in donations as of Monday. We've hit the 3-digit mark. I'm very proud of you guys. I cannot believe we hit it. We did it, dude. We did it. Infidels, I love you. Sleeper cells, I love you. I'm gonna record tomorrow, so I'll see you guys technically tomorrow for me for the Wednesday check-in episode. But I'll see you guys on Wednesday, next Wednesday. Ooh, the timing is weird. I like this. All right, guys. Asan out. Infidels, what up? It's a Friday episode of DB, Dangerous Brown Podcast. Thanks for joining. Sleeper Cell is small, but we are growing. Appreciate any new listeners that have come on in the last couple days. I appreciate any people who listen to my live who come on. I appreciate you guys. I ain't nobody now, but we're growing, man. We're growing, and I'm glad you guys are along the journey with me. For those of you who don't know, I go live on TikTok all the time. If you want to see the schedule of when I go live and all that, join my Discord. I'll put the link to my Discord in the YouTube description. So if you listen to this on Spotify or iTunes, just hop over to the YouTube, join the Discord, and you'll get all the information. Our Discord is 29 people strong, man. So, I'm out here loving it. Like I said, we're small but growing. We're inside, if you can't tell. It is unfortunately raining outside, so we can't do the outside. I like the setup outside with the arm. That's nice. In here, I could set up the arm. Maybe my table in front of me is super flimsy, so I don't know if it would actually hold it. So I have to hold it old school DB. Back inside for this one. All right. You saw the what this one was called, the episode title. We're continuing with Exodus. I'll be doing the Bible a little bit quicker now, just because there's like a month in between Bible ones, and it's like I want to know. I'm curious on what happens next. All right. So today is gonna be Exodus chapter 17 through 24. We're taking this 8 at a time. And so let's begin at 17. So, the Israelites, they're just sort of wandering through the desert, just sort of wandering, looking for their home, with Moses leading them. Let me grab my water real quick here. I'm going to take a sip. Whoop, whoop. This is riveting podcasting. Okay, so chapter 17, the Israelites are moving around. They go out to a place called Rephidim. They start complaining again. You know how the Israelites are, be at this point. They just are not happy that they are out of slavery, man. They really keep bringing this point up over and over again about how they were better under slavery. And we're going to talk about slavery more in this, where there used to be a time in my life where, I was like, how could you use the Bible? Because, I'd never really read it. And I thought, well, it's the word of God. And Jesus is very do unto others what you would want done unto yourself, golden rule type stuff. And so I was like, how could they use the Bible to justify slavery? And then the answer is Exodus. That's how. It'll come up in future in the chapters we read today. But the Israelites are complaining, why'd you bring us out of Egypt? They're thirsty. They're dying of thirst because they're in the desert. And Moses strikes the rock at the base of Mount Sinai, and water bursts through, and so they can all drink. And Moses names the place after the people's test of God. So they thought the people was testing God, and then he decided to name the place where he strikes the water out to, remind the people, like, hey, stop being dicks, dude. Stop being dicks. This guy brought you out of slavery. I mean, at this point, you know, the Israelites and their memory span is insane. Do you not remember when he split the waters of the Red Sea so you could walk through? At this point, or like killed the firstborn of every Egyptian, or all the plagues and turning the Nile into blood. Like at this point, to question God is, if I'm in the average Israelite, in this group, I'm like, dude, why are we questioning this? This is clearly the right guy for us. This guy's clearly like the one true God. Like, it's so obvious, but the Israelites just, they just can't seem to remember. The Israelites are attacked by the warriors of Amalek. Moses sends Joshua to fight him. And then, so whenever Moses holds his staff over his head, the Israelites have the advantage. Whenever he puts it down, the Amalekites have the advantage. So Aaron and another guy named Hur help him keep his hand up. They give him a place to sit down. They hold his hand up. Aaron, of course, is, again, there's just time and time again, dude. My boy Aaron, unsung hero of the Bible, dude, or at least of Exodus, unsung hero of the whole Moses story. Like it's just like, give him his due. He's got to be a prophet, right? I gotta look up the Islamic prophets because there's a bunch of prophets in Islam. Moses, I know, is one of them for sure. Jesus is a prophet in Islam. One of them's got to be Aaron. If Aaron's not a prophet, it's like, bro, this guy is just looked over, underappreciated, really. And then after victory, the Lord says he will wipe the memory of Amalek from under heaven. So, shout out to Aaron for the assist, man. Always. Aaron is out here throwing dimes, dude. Great passer. Really opens the floor up. And yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Aaron stan. What are we? We're anti-cupbearer, pro Aaron. That's what we are here at the Dangerous Brown podcast. Aaron stan, baby. Aaron stan. Calling it now. If you at this point too, if you've listened to all the Bible episodes, at this point, if you're not an Aaron stan, what are you doing here? You gotta if you're not an Aaron stan, you gotta message me and tell me why Aaron isn't one of the more unsung heroes. Maybe there's something that comes later where Aaron gets his due, but the fact that nobody talks about him in terms of Bible stories means that he is for sure the unsung hero. For sure. And he gets, number 2 billion to Moses in the story because God chose Moses, but Moses is like scared of everything. Aaron is the one who talks to the Israelites. Anyways, that's chapter 17. Chapter 18, Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, visits, and he brings Moses' wife and kids, because at some point, this is just an afterthought too in chapter 18, Moses just sends his wife out. He just lets his wife go back to like his father-in-law's house because this is too dangerous or whatever. Or is it too much? And she just goes, man. I mean, you gotta think Moses definitely has some, side piece, a little wanderer in his midst. If he sent his wife away, for sure there's a little dilly-dallying going on there. But yeah, man, again with this, just like, good Lord, just like casting women off to the side. Moses' wife saves his life. Without Moses' wife giving that emergency circumcision to his son, Moses would be dead. This journey really starts with Moses' wife, because God's attacking Moses. Zipporah, that's her name, circumcises her son. God stops attacking Moses. That's the first bit of a woman taking charge here in the story, and ironically it has to do with a penis. But yeah, they just to cast her aside. And the way, at least in my version of the Bible that I'm reading, the English, the new sort of international version, it's just sort of an afterthought. We're told now that Moses sent his wife away. At no point in the story did they tell us. We don't know how long Moses' wife is gone. All we know is that it's probably for sure Moses is doing a little dilly and a dally with a little wandering snack, little desert piece he's got going on. Chances are, right? He's like the most powerful man in this camp. There's no way. Just there's no Israelite women just like all over him. There's zero way. But his wife and kids are back for a visit. Moses tells Jethro the story of their freedom. Jethro praises the Lord. And at this point, Moses is solving every single person's dispute. So if you have a dispute among all the Israelites, you go to Moses and he's the judge, right? And Jethro goes, hey, man, you're doing too much. You're a representative of God, so pick other people. So pick other people to deal with these problems, and then the big problems come to you. Sort of like a court system. Moses is the Supreme Court. If the case is big enough, it gets kicked up to him. But then all the smaller courts, appeals courts or whatever, and federal courts, they can deal with the day-to-day disputes. And, Jethro says pick people who are uncorruptible, which is a very, idealistic way of looking at people, I think, to be like, oh, I can find, let's say, 100 uncorruptible people. That's insane, There's a reason why Gotham is the way it is, because Batman was the only uncorruptible one. So to be able to find 100 uncorruptible people in this group of people who miss slavery, I think, is a tall order. And I would say at the lower level, I would say Moses is like Batman here. He makes the righteous choice all the time. But the lower level, at the sort of appeals court level of this situation, there is tons of bribing and tons of favors. And politics, man, politics are unavoidable. So, but I appreciate the sentiment and appreciate the fact that, it was a different time. Maybe he did find 100 uncorruptible people. And what's corrupting people is sort of modern society. But I doubt that. People are people, no matter what the setting is, But Jethro, after giving this pretty dope advice, returns to his own land. Nothing is said about what Moses' wife is doing. And for the rest of the time here, I don't think they mentioned his wife. So I would think Moses' wife went back with her father-in-law. I don't know. This seems like they're at this point. Are they married, or it feels like they're separated? It feels like he sort of came up in the world and is out here a dillion and a dallion with maybe some younger Israelites. Again, pure speculation. This is a man of God, so this is probably blasphemy. But, why isn't Moses' wife with him? If I was wandering the desert for like 40 years or whatever, I would definitely want my wife to be with me. Not off living with her father. You don't need any companionship, man? God's your only companion? Get out of here. All right. So, number 19, we're back at Mount Sinai. Lord tells Moses, if the Israelites obey him and keep his covenant, they will be his special treasure. And Moses tells the people this, and the people are like, cool. And for a fact, the people are going to forget this. God says he will appear in a thick cloud to speak to the people, but at the base of the mountain. But at a certain point, they can't cross the boundary to the mountain until it's the right time. I don't know. There's this whole God will speak to the people thing, but then he only speaks to Moses. This is probably the most confused I've ever been reading, just like what's going on, who's in the Lord's presence and who's not. Because at some point it tells you they're in their Lord's presence, and then Moses will go up to the mountain, and then he'll just be in the Lord's presence. You know what I mean? So there's a lot going on. I'll sort of skip over those parts, because sorry, man, a little tired. They're not entirely necessary, you know. But yeah. So the day comes. Moses, the mountain's covered in smoke. The Lord calls Moses, tells the people not to break the line they're not supposed to cross, and then he says, "Go back and bring my boy Aaron to go, speak to me." So the Lord, right now in chapter 20, is about to impart some rules. There's a lot of rules in this section. This is a rules section. All right. So here are the Lord's instructions. Chapter 20. I'm your only God, no idols. Because I'm an only God, only one, only the one. And then he says no idols, pretty much, because he's a jealous God, and he will weigh the sins of a parent on their children. I read this twice to be like, what? That seems like a harsh way of judging someone. So if the sins of my parents are on me, and they said not only for the next 3 or 4 generations. So if their sins of the parents are on me and I'm screwed regardless, why would I then just not sin? I guess because I want 4 generations down the line to be better off, but like I can't think that far. If my kids are better off, I'd be like, okay, well then maybe I'll act normal. But if my kids and my kids' kids are suffering from the sins of my parents, then well, hey, might as well sin. Might as well build some idols. Might as well be like, what are these other gods talking about? This Old Testament God is pretty crazy. Also, the fact that he's jealous. I would really hope that God would be above these sort of human emotions. And no reason for him to be jealous, right? Like, if I, again, we're very much on the territory of blasphemy, or like not on the edge of blasphemy, or in the smack dab middle of blasphemy at this point. But if I was God, hypothetically, like, why would I care if people didn't believe me? I'm all powerful, all knowing, and oops, it's their loss. It's their loss. This is like giving God dating advice. Like, dude, you got to take it as their loss. You're better than that. You're God. Believe in yourself, dog. Believe in yourself, homie. If I could look Genesis chapter 20 God in the eye, I'd be like, bro, believe in yourself. It's okay. You don't need us to believe in you. You got this on lock, dude. You got this on lock. And that's my new segment, Advice to God. Jesus. I'm going to get struck by a lightning bolt in my own home, for sure. Okay. 20, you can't misuse God's name, which I'm pretty sure I was just doing. So I'm out here breaking some covenants, dude. I'm a covenant breaker. You know? Oh, is that a covenant? Let me break it. Breaker. This is covenant. I don't even think that makes any sense. What I just said last doesn't make any sense. But sometimes you gotta just record a podcast in a couch in your parents' basement and break some covenants, man. Because life is going well. Why not test God? The next one is this day of Sabbath is for rest. The 7th day is for rest. And this will come up again, and there's something I want to talk about, but just know it'll come up in the end. Honor your parents. That's obvious. No murder. No adultery. Priests. Does not apply to you, but everyone else. No adultery. Okay? Okay? Even though I'm God and I had a child with someone else's father. No, someone else's father. I had a child with someone else's wife. No adultery. Rules for thee, but not for me, baby. What are you? God saying no adultery is so funny. You had a baby with Mary. What are you, Gavin Newsom? Practice what you preach, dude. Looking for the lightning bolt. It's gonna hit me anytime now. It's got to. Come on. Calling God Gavin Newsom is pretty hilarious. God saying no adultery. Get out of here. No stealing. That's good. You cannot testify falsely against thy neighbor. So basically no lying. And you can't covet thy neighbor's house. And then the Lord tells Moses specifications on how to build an altar for him. So this you end chapter 20 with some blueprints. All right. Chapter 21. Here we go. More regulations. You know what I think makes for a great podcast? Talking about the Lord's. I'll rephrase it. You know what I think makes for a good comedy podcast? Talking about the Lord's rules and regulations, man. If someone were to pitch you, hey, what's this comedy podcast? What's it about? Oh, it's about the Lord's rules and regulations. You'd be like, man, what a blast, huh? That sounds like the podcast version of those of that place with all the indoor trampolines. That's what that podcast sounds like. Sounds like pure fun. It's like if that indoor trampoline place had laser tag. That's what that podcast episode sounds like. So, anyways, back to some rules and regulations. Is that thunder right here? Is that thunder? All right. The thunder is coming. All right, what do we got here? Oh, here we go. 21. Here's the regulations on slaves. Here we go. A Hebrew can only serve as a slave for 6 years. And if he's married to a person before he becomes a slave, after he's freed, the wife also becomes free as well. So, again, the wife is like property. As soon as he goes into slavery, she's into slavery no matter what. Even if she doesn't want to or she can afford not to. It seems like if there's a way that you can become a slave here without warfare, without kidnapping here, it seems like you can become a debt slave. Meaning that you can become a slave if you owe someone money, or someone can make you a slave if you owe them your money. But if you're a Hebrew, only for 6 years can you be a slave. That's it. If he's married as a slave and has wife and kids while he's in slavery, they remain slaves after 7 years. Because, again, this is a wife. It doesn't matter. God damn. You know what's funny? At the end of Genesis, I talked about how there's no strong female characters in the sort of, this sort of Abrahamic creation mythology. And I thought for sure Genesis this is probably the worst it's going to get. And my God, it is rough out here for you ladies. Rough. You guys should listen to the ancient. You guys should give the ancient Greeks a try. They give ladies a shot. I mean, it's not the best, but it's way better than this. You can be a god in ancient Greece. I wonder if you could hear my drinking. It's probably gross, but whatever. I'm gonna get struck by lightning by the end of this, so that's gonna be good. A good podcast moment. Yeah, and if he wants to stay a slave, to stay with his wife and kids, the master must publicly pierce his ear, and then he becomes a slave for life. Which, damn, dude, if I was a Hebrew slave in these times, it's just I'm not gonna get married. Hell to that, man. Hell to that. So if a man sells his daughter as a slave, she is not free to the end of his 6 months if the master is not satisfied, which is an interesting choice of the word. Interesting use of the words there, huh? Until the master is not satisfied? Satisfied. Let's see. So she has to stay on. If she marries the master's son, though, she becomes a daughter, so there's a way out for him. There's a way out for them. If a man married to a slave takes another wife, and he sort of neglects the slave wife, she becomes free. So that's another way out. That's a way out if you're a woman. So there's two ways out right now. If you're just freed by the grace of your own master, if you've satisfied him enough. You know what I mean? If you catch my drift. You know, if you make him happy, if you catch my drift. If he wakes up, if you make sure he wakes up feeling refreshed, if you catch my drift. You know? If you make sure he comes out of his penis, if you catch my drift. Wink. That's one way. One other way is to marry the master's son. The other way is that master marries you and then marries another woman and just sort of forgets about you because you're a slave. Why would he not pay more attention to his non-slave wife? But at least that would free you. So those are your only ways out, really. It all is based on a man's decision, as it should be, or as that's Burger King's tweet. This is Burger King's tweet reaction to what I'm just saying. As it should be. Oh man, ladies. Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus. I'm so sorry. All right. If you salt or kill a person, you're dead. You're done, fool. You're done. Strike your parents equals death. But if you kill a person in an accident, it's whatever. Hey, accidents happen. Boys will be boys. Kidnap, death, injure a person, compensate them. The owner is only punished if a slave is beat to death. Okay, and then this is Exodus 21 is where you get eye for an eye. So Exodus 21 says, you injure a person's eye, you gotta take your eye. You gotta have equal compensation. Now, you would think this would come just in the sort of section about assaulting other people, but this is how eye for an eye comes up. If you accidentally strike a pregnant woman while in an argument with another man, and then the force causes her to go into premature birth, you must compensate the man. That's where eye for an eye comes up. Wild, right? Wild. Would have never guessed. It's sort of these that's what I like about reading the Bible right now is just like, oh, you find these sort of things I just would have never known. I would have never known that an eye for an eye comes up in this weird Mexican standoff with a pregnant woman just sort of chilling in striking distance. We talked about it earlier, the whole scene earlier where Moses' wife saves Moses' life by giving her kid an emergency circumcision in the middle of a bar or a tavern. Wild stuff, man. Stuff no one ever talks about. I like learning this stuff, man. There's so much in this that wow, this is what's going on. Then there's a lot of stuff about oxes. An ox must be killed for goring, but the owner must be killed if the ox is known for goring. Now, if an ox is supposed to be killed after they gore, how can you then have an ox that's known for goring? Because it's supposed to be already dead if it gores once. So this is sort of an oxymoron. Is this an oxymoron? Or a conundrum? For the pun, it's an oxymoron. Because you can't have an ox that's known for goring. A goring ox is already dead. So, I think that's just to put it in there. What I like to call a just in case clause. Just in case. One of these oxes is very persuasive and was like, "Murr, I didn't gore, murr." And they're like, "Well, we think you gored, so now you're an ox that's known for goring. Owner, keep an eye on him." If you gore a slave, you only get 30 silver coins. You get 30 silver coins. You don't have to die. Slave is someone's property. If you dig a pit and an animal and its owner falls in, you have to compensate the man who fell in, but you get to keep the dead animal. So, pits are a way to go, I guess. Yeah, but an owner must be killed if an ox is known for goring. Gore a slave, you get 30 silver coins. A lot of slave rules, like I said at the top. So yeah, this is what I mean when you can use Exodus to justify slavery. I do think, and I could be wrong about this, but when you learned about indentured servants in America, they only serve 7-year terms. I think it has something to do with this. But it's interesting how they threw out the rules. America's relationship with black people is deep, man. Because if you look at Exodus to be like, well, this is our justification for slavery, and then the fact that these slaves stayed as slaves for their entire lives means that you get that they were looked as not even people. Like the idea of black people being people to these slave owners was so far away that they wouldn't give them the 7-year sort of deal that they got with the Lord going on. And it's like, and this is a even more religious time than now. They were killing witches, and you'll find, I think in the next chapter it says a sorcerer must be killed. Any sorceress must be killed. So I know you're reading that and being like, a sorceress must be killed. Well, the previous chapter, it says you can't have a slave for more than 6 years. So the picking and choosing, and I'll talk about the picking and choosing in a second. All right. 22. You got to pay back 5 oxen for every oxen stolen. If a person kills a thief in his house at night, he is not a murderer. But if he kills him during the day, he is. Funny rule. Just a funny rule. If your animal eats someone's crop, you have to pay with your best crops. If your stuff is stolen while your neighbor care, your neighbor must appear before God, and God shall decide whether or not he stole it. If a man, sexes a virgin. Ooh, what a player. He has to pay the bride price and marry her. But if her father refuses to marry, he still has to pay the bride price. Now, it's been a while since we've come across a porny scene in the Bible. Sort of virgin daughter exchange is definitely a good one. And like I said, if there's any, the lightning clouds are still forming. It's very concerning. But if there's any, producers out there that want to really take a risk and do some Bible porn, I could write some stuff for you. For sure. You must not allow a sorceress to live. That's right here. Can't sacrifice to any other god. And here we go. You must not mistreat foreigners in any way. We'll come back to that, huh? You can't exploit a widow or an orphan. Lend money to people in need with you can't charge interest. Don't curse rulers. Can't hold anything back, offering wise. Give God your firstborn sons. Don't eat any animal that's been torn up or killed by wild animals. That's 22. That's more rules. Let's keep on going with the rules, and then I'll stop at a certain point to talk about something here. All right. No false rumors. No lying on the witness stand. You can't be scared by a crowd into doing the wrong thing, even if they're all doing the wrong thing. You got to do the right thing. That's tough to do, but that's why it's written down. It's an important thing to remember, is that just because the crowd is going one way, if you know what's right, then you got to go the other way. You got to zig when people zag. A lot of the time. You can't deny justice to the poor. Never sent an innocent man to death. No taking bribes. And again, must not oppress foreigners. This is what's crazy to me. What's crazy is that America calls itself, I shouldn't say America, because not everyone in America is like this. I'll say this. It's crazy that there are people shouting about how America is this Christian nation. And I'm reading Exodus 22 and 23 and reading the commandments God sent down. And look what it says. We can't oppress foreigners. Never sentence an innocent man to death. You must not deny justice to the poor. If someone is in need and needs money, you must lend them money with no interest. And then must not oppress foreigners again, twice in 2 chapters, 22 and Exodus 23. And it's like, how do we get off on calling us a Christian nation? How? These people screaming about how we should be a Christian nation for sure don't follow these rules. That's for sure. How are we a Christian nation? We're definitely not. We're kind of the exact opposite of one. if I'm reading this through. We're doing a great job oppressing foreigners. We're doing a great job denying justice to the poor. Flint, Michigan still has no clean water. We're doing a great job of putting innocent people to death. You know, obviously, I'm talking about Jeffrey Epstein. He did nothing wrong. Free Ghislaine. Where we lend people with money with interest rates. And it's just, what? What? How? This is just a basic reading from the New International Version of the Bible that's like, clearly, we're not a Christian nation. Clearly, dude. We're trying to go back to being a Christian nation. No, we never were. We enslaved foreigners. We kidnapped foreigners, brought them here, and enslaved them. We have never even been close to a Christian nation. It's almost like everyone saying that is a con man. Plant and harvest crops for 6 years. And on the 7th years, you must let the land be, and the poor get to harvest whatever grows on its own. Do not call out the name of any of the gods. So God needs 3 festivals. You have a festival of unleavened bread. Here we are back with the unleavened bread. 7 days of bread without yeast. That's in spring. Then you have a festival of the harvest. That's the first crops of harvest. And then the final festival of final harvest. So those are your 3 festivals. Can't cook a young goat in mother's milk. That's fair. In its mother's milk. So, and it's sending an angel. God is sending an angel to guide the Israelites to their land. Pay close attention to him. Obey only his instructions. And if you follow my instruction, I will be an enemy to your enemies. You must smash other gods' sacred pillars. Let's see. If you serve the Lord will bless you with food and water, protect you from illness. Create a panic among peoples whose land you invade. Enemies will run in terror. Drive people off your land, and he'll drive people off your land a little at a time. And you must not make treaties with the people that live on your land right now. All right. So, just, those are them's the rules, dude. We went through the rules. Not all of them. There's a lot more oxen rules that I was like, I don't. I doubt we're at this point yet. I doubt we're at the point yet where a lot of my listeners have oxens. When we reach that rule of an audience, I'll go over the oxen rules as a refresher. I promise you guys. Chapter 24, the Israelites accept the Lord's commandment. Moses builds an altar at the base of Mount Sinai. He sacrifices bulls at the altar as an offering. He takes the blood, splatters it on the people, confirms the covenant with the Lord. Now the Israelites are in a covenant with the Lord. The Israel elders eat and drink in the Lord's presence on the Mount Sinai. Lord says to Moses to come up the mountain, and I will give you tablets of stone with the instructions. So we're going to codify these rules I gave you. And Moses remains on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. That's the end of chapter 24. Those are the 8 chapters we're going over this week. A lot of stuff going on here. We'll see what happens when Moses comes down after the 40 days. But I think for those of you who know, we know that it's about to turn up. Things are about to turn up, right? They don't reach the promised land. If that's a spoiler alert, I mean, it's been thousands of years, so I doubt it is. But so what? Something happens. Guys, thank you for listening. We kept it short. We kept it under 40. Thank God. I didn't want to take up too much of your time here. But yeah, subscribe to Spotify, iTunes, YouTube if you haven't. Shout out to the people evangelizing the podcast, getting it out there, telling more people about it. That's what we're growing. We're small but growing. Join the Discord if you haven't already, and of course, donate to Wikipedia. We're at $105 in donations to Wikipedia. If you donate, just tell me that you do, and I will add it to the list. If I can, sometimes on live, people give me bits and presents. If I can monetize the presents, I'll donate half to Wikipedia too. So the people who give me presents on the tea time will be making a donation as well. That's if I can monetize it. if I can get the money. I don't quite know how it works, but that's what I say to you guys. Guys, we'll be back Wednesday for another Wednesday check-in. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. I can't wait to talk about it. Of course, unless something huge happens that I need to talk about immediately, which I doubt it will. But, who knows? This life's pretty crazy, Guys, thank you so much for listening. I will see you soon. Infidels, I love you. Sleeper cell, we're small, but we're growing. Later, guys. Hey, what up, infidels? We're outside again. 2 outside episodes in a row. It's been rare as of late, huh? We're here. This is my official last episode with this beard. So drink it in, guys. Drink it in. If you're on the tube, drink this in. End of an era. I'll have a couple episodes out here with the regular beard, and I'm gonna be in Austin for a couple weeks. It's gonna be interesting to see how that is, really. You know what I mean? To see what those episodes are like. I'm curious as to if I'm gonna be staying on Derek's couch out there, so we'll be curious to see if they'll be from the couch or if I'll rent a studio. But we're taking it as it comes. A couple more notes of housekeeping, guys. It's really windy out here. This is the problem with the outside. You're at the mercy of the elements here. But yeah, a couple notes of housekeeping, guys. Wikipedia donations still at 105, guys. Please, if you got some extra money, donate to Wikipedia. I'll add it to my counter at the end. Tell your friends about the podcast. I don't got no guests. I'm not a guest on any other podcasts as of recently, so this is the only way we grow is through word of mouth. But, the infidels that are rocking with me, you guys are the best. I absolutely love you guys. Thank you so much. If you're new here and you want my schedule, I posted 2 weekly schedules on Discord. And I have, we have other information going on there. So join the Discord. Link will be in the YouTube bio. Or if you follow my TikTok, DangerousBrown69, it will be in the link in my bio there. All right, so today is going to be Exodus chapters 25 through 32. But, before we get to that, I want to talk about something that I meant to talk about on Wednesday. I just forgot because we ran out of time. That episode was already long enough, so I never got to talk about it. But the NCAA skimped out on the women's equipment, and their food is like worse than the men's food. They just really, been treating the women worse than the men. And to me, the most surprising thing about the whole thing is how surprised people are. How are people shocked? What? Whoa, you mean the company that deals in slaves is treating women poorly? Oh, shocker. Shocker. I mean, it's awful, I guess. They obviously there's 64 women's teams in the tournament as well, and they should obviously have more than one dumbbell rack. Like, come on. But at a certain point, and they should definitely be given edible food. Absolutely, that's crazy. Hey, give them food. Duh. Duh. But how equal should things be? This is a hot take right here. How equal should things be? They should be given good equipment, for sure. It's the NCAA. You make billions of dollars off these slaves. You should definitely, at least make sure they're comfortable during this pandemic situation. It's not like it's a normal situation. But there's no way the women's workout station is going to be as state-of-the-art as the men's. It's just not going to happen. The NCAA is not going to see it as cost-effective. The women's basketball brings almost no income compared to men's basketball. None. And you see it all the time, too, when people talk about the WNBA. It's like Sue Bird played just as long as LeBron, is just as decorated in the WNBA, but makes so much less. And it's like, yeah, dude, ladies, if you want these women basketball players to be paid more, you have to start watching the WNBA. There's more ladies than dudes in the world. You guys could easily make this fair. The women's WNBA works the same as the men's. The WNBA works the same as the NBA. The players in the league get 50%, split the profits 50-50. Ergo, all ladies would need to do to get Sue Bird more money is to support women. That's all it would take. I can't help but think the amount of people I see complaining about it on TikTok, how many of those people complaining about it actually watch the games? It's like people want to complain more than take action. You could sit there complaining, or you could actually straight up be the difference you see in the world and actually watch the games. But you're not going to do that. It's not as good of a product. No, they'd beat you in a one-on-one. Yeah, of course they'd beat me in a one-on-one. These are professional basketball players. I'm not an idiot. I'm just talking about the business of the situation. I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast. You know, when you have a podcast, when you're screaming alone into a microphone and a camera, you tend to repeat things. You know? But yeah, it's that simple. No women listen to this podcast, I feel. That's not true. A couple women do. But very little. The amount of texts I get, like, bro, I like your podcast. Your jokes make my girl mad, though, sometimes. It's like, yep. I don't know what it is about me, but it is something about me. All right. Jeez, I should have stayed inside. Yo, it's so windy out here. It's like God is like, I know you're about to talk about me. You should have stayed inside. I'm gonna make this as hard as possible for you as I can. Exodus 25 through 32. Let's begin. Now, again, before we begin, I said let's begin, and I said before we begin. I read a part of the Old Testament in college, and Exodus being one of the chapters, books that I read. And this is the section that I remember most about Exodus because of how boring it was. You know, in my mind, the Bible, before I started reading it, was story after story and action scene after action scene. And, it's really a lot of describing things. Way more description than I thought. And I call this section the blueprint section of Exodus. I mean, let's see. We're already 7 minutes in. I would be surprised if this episode's last half an hour. That's how quick we'll be able to go over these 8 chapters, because not much happens. It's a lot of God. So God is telling the whole point of these chapters pretty much is Moses is on the mountain, right? He's on Sinai. He's talking to God, and God is just giving him the specifications on the tabernacle, like the house of worship and the Ark of the Covenant, and how just the specificities on how he wants things set up. Like to the point where he's talking about, I need this in this room. The room has to be 47, or like this box has to be 47 inches by 12 inches, and yada, yada, yada. And I could have made an effort to write down all the specifications, but then I just didn't care. I tried to care about this section a lot. I just couldn't do it. So, I mean, we're about to motor through some chapters here, and we might be done with this in under 20 minutes. That's how many specification God gives. God is basically, as of right now, we are, if we were to take Moses' viewpoint, we are contractors, and God is asking us to build an addition to his house. He wants that big deck energy. By the way, again, little aside before we start again. I say this thing on my lives, big deck energy, because I have this huge deck at my house. And, it's fun. This big deck energy, it's a play on the words, BDE, and I like to say things like big deck energy is a mindset. You got to live your life like you have a big deck at home. It's a fun little life thing. And my life has gotten banned twice for saying big deck energy. And it's like, come on. Come on, TikTok. It's, one, is clearly a joke. 2, it's not offensive by any stretch of the imagination. There's no vulgarity. There's no nothing. I fail to see how that violates the community terms and guidelines. I truly do. But, one of the most popular songs out right now one of the most popular songs right now is talking about someone's girlfriend getting cunnilingus on the couch, but I can't say big deck energy. What I really need is just a bunch of underage people to dance to me saying big deck energy, and then it can stay. That's what I need. Otherwise, I can't say it. I just can't say it. I don't, I'm going to, if I make this into a clip, I make this into a clip and watch it get taken off. A little consistency. Well, it's not even consistency. I'm not breaking any terms of service, so a little explanation as to why you keep banning it would be nice to me. I'm a small creator, so it's like, why are you screwing? I feel like when you're doing this to small creators, it feels targeted. I'll say that. Is it because I'm brown? If it's because I'm brown, just tell me it's because I'm brown. I can handle that. That makes sense. Like, oh, I'm brown and things, there's different rules for me. Okay, fine, fair. But tell me that. Don't say you're taking it off due to community guidelines and then reject the appeal when I didn't break any of the community guidelines. It's insulting. It's insulting. But, thank you, China, for everything you've done for my career, I guess. Man. All right. Chapter 25. So here comes the blueprints. So God lists out accepted sacred offerings: gold, silver, bronze, blue/purple and scarlet thread, fine linen and goat hair, ram skins, goat skins, acacia wood, olive oil, spices, and gemstones. And the people of Israel must build God a holy sanctuary, the tabernacle, as it'll be called from now on out. And this is what he needs. Right? And then chapter 25, you have the blueprint for the tables, and you have the blueprint for the lampstand. That's what I mean when I call this the blueprint section. He tells you the specifications of the table, the dimensions of the table, what it needs to be made out of, what it needs to be anointed with, and he does the same thing with the lampstand. Now imagine in the next few chapters, he does this with literally every single thing that could be in the tabernacle. And that's literally chapters 24 through 30, I'll say. 31. It's chapters 34 through 31. 32 gets a little wild, and we'll get there. But, I'm sort of glad I split this off by eighths, because if this would have sucked if, we ended, the blueprint section was in the middle of another section, and we had to come back the next week, and I'm still on the blueprints. So let's get the blueprints out of the way, all right? So we have the table, we have the lampstand. Now, chapter 26, we have the plans for the tabernacle itself, the whole thing, the outside anyways, I think. Just to give you how specific these specifications are, it tells you the amount of curtains they need and the exact size of the curtains they need, and the curtains must be the exact same size. I should Google. You know what? I'm going to Google this right now about what does a tabernacle look like by the specifications of God. Look, and then of the tabernacle by Bible specifications. Because if I can find one right now, let's see. I'll place it on the what I want to say. I'll place it on the what are the words I'm looking for? On the YouTube. I'll place a picture of it. Okay, I found one. I'll place it by the end of this. By the end of the thing. It's okay. The picture's okay. It's not the greatest, but it'll do. All right. So, all right. That's chapter 26. Chapter 27, it's the plans for the altar where you burn the offerings. And it's also the plans for the courtyard, and it's the light for the tabernacle, how we light it up. And Aaron and his sons, my boy Aaron, the underappreciated Aaron and his sons have to keep the lamps burning in the Lord's presence all night, and which It's just Aaron's job. Aaron is basically appointed. That was chapter 27. Chapter 28, we talk about Aaron himself. He is appointed the priest, the high priest of the tabernacle. Him and his sons will always be the priests, and they have special clothing. You know, and we talk about like the specificity of the clothing, like the type of clothing they wear, the chest plate, all that, dude. This is Blueprint City, yo. What was that song? Rack City? Rack City, bitch. Rack City, bitch. Blueprint 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 City, bitch. That's where we're at, bro. We're cruising down Blueprint City. Cruising down the street in my tabernacle. No, that doesn't work. Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. Someone's like, why do you have a song for every episode? I guess it keeps going. Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. Aaron has to wear a turban, which I find interesting, because, you know, turban is the sign of our enemies. Here, at least at one point in America, those words would be said. I don't know about now. I guess the signs of our enemies not now are the fortune cookie, but the blueprints are the signs of our enemies at one point in America. And it's crazy that, like, if you're the high priest of the Lord, you're supposed to wear one. It's in the Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. Read the Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. So yeah, Aaron's got to wear a turban, which, you know, again, is an interesting sort of wrinkle in the whole situation that I didn't expect. And he has to wear special underwear. Must be worn in the tabernacle. Special underwear. It can't be irregular underwear. I'm guessing it has to be skid mark free. It doesn't mention there's no mentions of the skid marks in Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. But I would assume. So 29 is how you consecrate Aaron and his sons as priests. You gotta find a bull and 2 rams with no defects. Remember, this is a hard and fast rule of the Bible. No retarded goats. We see it early, I think, in Exodus, I think, or it could be in, I don't even remember. But that's how, you know, ain't no goats riding the short bus for sacrifice. It's gotta be a mentally functioning goat. So you need 2 bulls and a ram and a bull and 2 rams. And you really go into detail what you do with the blood. Like, for the bull, you gotta kill the bull and then splash the blood on the horns and then all over the altar. And then you take the organs and you burn them inside, and you take the skin and the hide and you burn, and the muscles, and you burn that outside as a sin offering, which, you know, pretty metal. Just the word sin offering. Ironically, there would be a time if you're like, there would be a time in the U.S. if you're like, oh, I gotta burn this animal skin outside as a sin offering. People would be like, are you worshiping the devil? And it's like, that's kind of how God wants you to worship him. So, you know, it is probably as far as metal things that happen so far, it's pretty metal. The words burn this animal's skin as a sin offering. Ooh, that sounds salacious almost. That is hardcore, dude. God's being an edgelord here, you know. So you sacrifice one of the rams, and the second ram is the most important lamb. That's called the ordination lamb, as they call it in my version of the Bible. And that is something that you see a lot, and it's very interesting. It's how the second sons, for whatever reason, are more important than the first sons. You see it over and over again. Abraham with Ishmael and Isaac. Jacob and Esau. You know? Esau is always in the short stick to the favored second son, Jacob. I mean, Joseph isn't the second son, but he's not the first son of Jacob. You feel what I'm saying? Moses is the second son in his family. And there's this sort of interesting theme over and over and over again. All the firstborn sons in Egypt are killed. The secondborns are okay. there's this theme over and over and over again. And it is interesting. It's interesting how the second son is the more important one, and you see it in this sort of offering to Jacob. The ordination lamb is the second one. That's the most important lamb. They'll go into details about that a lot. You have to lift portions of the ordination lamb up to the Lord for sacrifice. Aaron and his descendants, and the other priests and his descendants are the only ones who can eat the ordination lamb. It's that holy. This I thought was interesting. Whenever Israelites lift a peace offering, they must set aside some for Aaron and his descendants. That's just part of the rules. Aaron's ordination process is 7 days. Every day a bull must be offered as a sin offering. Bow, 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 bow. Bum, bum, I, and they're just burning a a calf outside. Wah! That's my impression of heavy metal. I've listened to no heavy metal, obviously, if you can tell. But every day you got to do a sin offering. Bum 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 no 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 no, or however it goes. You know what I'm talking about. Going off the rails on a sin offering. I don't even like music that much. I don't know why I sing like this. Blueprint City, bitch. 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 Oh, this is another interesting thing. Every day, from here on out, at the temple or at the tabernacle, two 1-year-old lambs must be sacrificed. 2 1-year-old lambs must be sacrificed. Every day, one at night, one in the evening, one in the day. And that's crazy when you think about it. That means there has to be, 710 lambs. 710 lambs offered up for sacrifice. So I got a call. I got to answer back later. I can't answer it on shift. On shift. I'm on shift. But they need 710? No. 360 times 2 is 720. So there'd be 730. Sorry, they need 730 lambs just for sacrificing. Each 1-year-old. That's a lot to ask. That's a little bit crazy. Just saying. So chapter 30 is the incense altar, the incense plans, and how to pay for it. Every Israelite over the age of 20 has to pay half a shekel, no more, no less. So if you're rich, you can't give more, and if you're poor, you gotta scrounge up that half a shekel, baby. Half a shekel. Oh man, you don't have a half a shekel? Ooh, you might be out of favor with the Lord, man. We're all about the sheks here, half of them specifically. So you gotta get half a shekel. Then we're in chapter 30 now. We got the wash basin plans. And if Aaron and his descendant don't wash their feet before entering the tabernacle, they will burn up and die. So that's pretty important in this world of like the in Blueprint City, bitch. You gotta wash your feet. Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. Wash your feet, bitch. Wash your feet, bitch. I don't know how any song goes after the chorus, if you couldn't tell. After the chorus, it's done. It's done, dude. It's done. Then they give you the recipe for the anointing oil and the incense recipe. They give you the recipe and they tell you not to make it. I guess only Aaron and his priests can make it or whatever, right? Blueprint City. It's in the Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. All right. Chapter 31. God chooses his craftsman. He chooses Bezalel to be the main craftsman and Oholiab to be his assistant. Sure. Can't believe no one's named after those beautiful names. And then he just, again, runs down a sort of blueprints, again, of what he wants, or sort of the summary of all the things he said in the previous chapter. He gives inceptions. He gives instructions. God gives instructions to Moses on the Sabbath. He says, you must keep the Sabbath. It's a sign of the covenant with the Lord. If you desecrate the Sabbath, you should be put to death. He's very adamant about that. He mentioned that multiple times. Because you have 6 days to work, the 7th day should be resting. And he gives Moses 2 stone tablets inscribed with the terms of the covenant. Right? We finally are out of Blueprint City. Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. It took That's the end of chapter 31. It went from 25 to 31 was all blueprints. Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. We were there. We drove through, and now we're on the other side. And here is one of the most famous scenes. We end Blueprint City with one of the most famous scenes. And it really puts a light on our boy Aaron here that I wasn't prepared. Because I've been so pro Aaron this whole time. And it's like, oh, wow. He pulls some stuff here. And it's... At the end of this chapter, we might have to have an Aaron discussion going on here. Because this is intense. Moses is taking too long. Because... Blueprint City, bitch, is a lot of chapters, right? And the Israelites, as we know about the Israelites through this rest of the story, they have zero patience. Zero patience. Already forgetting how much God has done for them. You know, all the straight up miracles God has produced for them. And they ask Aaron to create a God for them because Moses is taking too long and they don't know if he'll come back. And Aaron does it. He melts down the people's gold, and he builds the golden calf. Aaron builds it. Aaron does it. Aaron, at the end of the day, after being God's spokesman for so long, after doing all of Moses' dirty work, betrays God like this. Where does Aaron fit now? I don't feel the same level of excitement as I do for Aaron. I appreciate his work. He is a great sidekick to Moses, and he deserves more credit. But Aaron, I think you lost the title of my boy Aaron. You're just Aaron. I see why you faded away into obscurity. This was a move, man. Sometimes people can't recover from one move, and this was a huge move. He builds the cow. He saw how excited people got for the cow. He builds an altar around the cow. He gets caught up in the excitement. It's like, Aaron, come on, you know better. Aaron himself has talked directly to God. And he betrays him. They have a festival around the calf. They sacrifice burnt offerings to this God, who the Israelites now credit this cow as the one who saved them out of Egypt, even though this cow didn't part the Red Sea for them and do all the plagues unto Egypt. It's insane. And God says, quick, Moses, go down to the people. They're messing up. And the Lord wants to destroy the people. And Moses really steps in and says, hey, remember the covenant you made with Abraham? Remember if you go back, really, the only reason why the Israelites are in this situation right now is God kind of forgot about the covenant he made with Abraham and let them become slaves in Egypt. So this is a little bit on God. So he can't kill all of them. He can't destroy all of them. And God backs down. I think he knows Moses is kind of right. But he would never admit it. No. God is the ego on God. My God. Looking around. Just making sure. I just got taken out by a sniper. Moses goes down the mountain. He smashes the tablets in front of the people. He burns the calf. He puts the calf's ashes in water. He makes the people drink it. Then Aaron's like, oh, whatever, man. You know how wicked the people are. Kind of brushing off responsibility for the whole situation, which to me is sort of the weakest part, which is what demotes Aaron from my boy in this, really. He doesn't be like, hey, man, I messed up. Please forgive me. He goes, you know how wicked the people are. Aaron, you made a mistake. Own it. Man, Aaron, you used to be my boy, Aaron. You used to be my boy, dude. I respect you still, man. I respect you. And you deserve more credit, but... Man. I didn't expect the ride through Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. I didn't expect to come out of the other side and be sad. I was like, finally, we're out of the Blueprint City. And then we get there and we see our boy Aaron. And he messes up. And he doesn't take responsibility for it. And it has real consequences. Because Moses then asks who's on the Lord's side. And the Levites step forward. And Moses says, okay, since you're the only ones on the Lord's side, you must kill everyone else. And they kill 3,000 people. Aaron You are the mastermind of this 9/11. Aaron is the Dick Cheney of this chapter. My boy. My boy. My boy. Look what they did to my boy. Look what they did to my boy. Infidels, I hope you hear the pain in my voice, man. It's real. It's real. And, you know, it sort of goes to show you the dangers of hero worship, man. Heroes can come and get you. My boy, Aaron. Look what they did to my boy. But they didn't do anything. Look what my boy did to himself. Gabagool. $3,000. Aaron. Be cheeky about it. Be like, oops, my bad. I forgot my role. Uh-oh. But to be like, you know how wicked the people are. My boy. Why'd you betray me like this? I was in a room yesterday. We were power ranking the top 10 sidekicks of all time. I said Aaron deserved to be in the honorable mention. I stuck up for you, man, and you stab me in the back like this. You create the golden calf. I was waiting for the golden calf. I mean, most of the people who were reading this knew it was coming, but some of you didn't. Maybe. I was waiting for the golden calf. And Aaron, my boy, look what you did. I'm hurt. I'm genuinely hurt. I read it. When I read it, I was like, I can't believe. You know, it really makes you think, man. Who are your friends? Moses goes back on the mountain, asks the Lord for forgiveness. The Lord says he will erase the name of everyone who has sinned against him, and he sends a plague onto the people who worship the calf. Aaron. Why, Aaron? The other Israelites go against the Lord. I get it. They've shown time and time again that they will go against the Lord. Constantly they will do it. But you, Aaron, God's conduit, guy who's talked directly to God, who performed so many miracles through the act of God, you turned the Nile blood red. You turned the staff into snakes. You did all of this, and you betray him. You know how bad it is to betray him, and you do because you get caught up in the fervor of the situation. You let the people's excitement take over your better judgment. Aaron, I expected more from you. And this is why he's not remembered. The whole time, up until now, I was like, what's going on? Why is Aaron not given more credit? This is why. Look what they did to my boy. My boy Aaron, man. My boy Aaron. I'm hurt. You know, you can hear it in my voice. I'm hurt. That's the end of Exodus today, guys. That's the note that we leave on. You know, remember the simpler times when we were in Rack City, bitch, Rack City, bitch, and we're like, oh, this is boring, this will be over. We'll get back to the cool sort of story after this, and ooh, the cow's coming. Can't wait to see how you see the Israelites screw up and betray God. But it was Aaron. I've been singing your praises for months now, Aaron. Months. Look what they did to my boy. Infidels, that's it for the Friday episode. How long did it end up being? I don't know. I can't see. The sun is in my sort of eyes, but yeah. That's this episode, guys. It ends on this sour note. This ends on this note of betrayal. And well, hopefully next week we'll put back, or not next week. I don't know when the next Bible is going to be. It might be a little bit from now, if I'm being honest. But hopefully, we'll be able to put back the pieces, guys. I'll see you Wednesday. Infidels. Later. What up, infidels? Another episode of the Dangerous Brown podcast here. I am filming this the day before I go to Austin, so I don't know when exactly this will come out. It might not come out for a while, honestly, but I'm out here. I'm doing it. I'm filming it. And so let's just get into it. We're doing the rest of Exodus. We're finishing Exodus today. It's a big day for us to finish Exodus. We're out here living our lives, I guess, let's just say, remember, if you listen to the last Exodus episode, I believe it was 25 to 32, I called it Blueprint City, Blueprint City, bitch, Blueprint City, bitch, Blueprint City, bitch, Blueprint City, bitch, where God gave Moses the sort of blueprints to build the tabernacle. And then the golden calf thing happened where they betrayed God. And I thought for sure we were done with Blueprint City. And this is going to be a quick episode because we're back in Blueprint City, bitch. 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 Except, so the last pretty much 7 chapters were the blueprints to building the tabernacle. And then the actual last 7 chapters are actually just building the tabernacle to the exact specifications of the blueprints. It is a very disappointing last 7 chapters. I was so excited. I thought we had moved past the blueprints. I thought we were finally going to get into some more action-y stuff. After the golden cow, that's when my knowledge on what happens in the Bible really goes to hell. I don't know. I usually didn't know. I would say usually. I didn't really know what happened throughout most of Genesis, throughout most of Exodus. Exodus more so because, there's so many movies on what happened in Exodus. But after the golden calf, I thought, let me explore this brand new territory that is Exodus for me. And it's just freaking blueprints, dude. Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. I mean, the last episode ended on such a good point. Aaron, my guy, the dude I've been championing my entire life, my entire podcast life, betrayed us. And I thought there was something was going to happen from there, and then we just went straight back to the blueprints of the tabernacle. So, I mean, if this episode lasts a half an hour, I would be surprised, because this is I would describe the ending of Exodus as disappointingly boring. That's how I would describe this last section. I was so excited to do this, so excited, and then it came to the end, and I was like, damn, this is a big letdown. As far as hype versus letdown, the last part of Exodus is like season 8 of Game of Thrones. I was just like, man, here's some stuff that's going to happen now that God is mad at the Israelites. And this is the last chapters 33 through 40 of Exodus is pretty much the same as Cersei just standing in the window the whole season. Just like, and staring out. That's all Cersei did. She just stared out a window the whole season. That's pretty much what this is. It's just like, damn, I thought this was going to be a little more exciting. And it really, really wasn't. So let's get to it. Chapter 33. God tells Moses to lead the Jews to the promised land, but he will not travel with them because the Jews are a stubborn, rebellious people. Which, I mean, at this point, if I'm God, I agree with God 100%. 100% agree with God. You've given the Israelites everything. You performed miracle after miracle after miracle in front of them. You parted the Red Sea. You made food appear from the dew on the ground. And they still refuse to worship just you. That's all you asked. Well, that's not all you asked. You asked for a lot. But one of the things you asked is you asked them to worship just you and no other God. And they still can't do it. After miracle, after miracle, after miracle. Even Aaron, Moses' brother, the guy you've been speaking to, the guy performing most of your miracles, builds another god for the Israelites. You know, all those years God left the Israelites to be slaves while he forgot the covenant he made with Abraham. All those years where God kind of owed the Israelites is gone now. Y'all are even. Israelites and God have a very toxic relationship coming from both sides. But I get God. Screw these people, man. If I'm God, I'm like, dude, I did everything for them, kind of. I did let them languish in slavery for a while, but after that, I did everything for them. And yet, they still, I mean, I feel like if I saw the Red Sea part, I'm like, I just believe whatever this God says. Clearly, he is the miracle king. And they just refuse to do it, man. Moses meets God in the tent of meeting. There's like a tent where he meets God. Israelites mourn the fact that God's not going with them. They remove all their jewelry and fine clothing. Moses pleads with God to go with him because without God, who will look favorably on the Israelites? Which, hey, Moses, way to see in the future in that one, huh? Even Moses back then was like, bro, we need you on our side because it is a rough world for us. It is a rough world for Jewish people. It really is. It has been for a while. They are the butt of so many ethnic cleansing attempts. They are ridiculed. Even today, they get a lot of hate. And Moses saw that coming from a mile away. Which is interesting because Jews are the chosen people. Right? In Islam, they're the chosen people. I believe in Christianity, they're also the chosen people. And I think that's why they get picked on a lot. There is a jealousy component that goes into picking on Jewish people. It's a very interesting thing that happens that I've noticed. There is a definite jealousy component to it. Let's see. Lord said he'll look favorably on Moses alone, and then the Lord shows himself to Moses, but only his back. The Lord's like, Moses, you only get to see my back. You can't see my full glory, which is interesting that God has like a body. I've always viewed God as kind of like Voldemort, just like an energy. But where's the lightning? That was probably that was one of the most sacrilegious things I said, huh? But I kind of viewed God. It's interesting that he has like a body, a figure. It doesn't translate in my head, but hey, it's not my story, you know? So 34, Moses takes 2 stone tablets up to Mount Sinai. The Lord passes in front of Moses. Lord tells Moses, never make a treaty with the people who live on your land. And people are always like, what is the solution to the Israel-Palestine problem? Right? But if you look here, Exodus 34, if you want to take a hardline stance on like, hey, God told us not to make treaties with the people who lived on our land, and you are an Israelite or a Zionist, or I don't know what they're called. Those, I guess, hardcore right-wing Jewish people there. There's no solution. There's no solution. You can't make treaties with them. God says so multiple times in chapter 34. Not just once, he said it twice. Never make treaties with the people who live on your land. So people go like, oh, what's the solution? It's like, there might not be one. It would take a great uniter to unite them, but like, how are you going to get through the people who look at this as the word of God? You know? I used to be like, maybe we'll figure it out. And now I'm like, oh, we're never, ever going to figure it out. He says, yeah, if you make a treaty with the people who live on your land, you'll fall into their evil ways, and they'll like seduce their daughters will seduce your sons against me. Because even God knows the power of sex. The power of pussy, man, can make you leave your God. Straight up leave your God. And then he tells them you must celebrate the festival of unleavened bread. There's a lot of like celebrating the festivals. Firstborn of every animal must be sacrificed to the Lord. Basically, after this, I would say chapter 35 to 40, Blueprint City. This is Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. I'm gonna motor through this. I mean, this might be a 10-minute episode. That's how crazy boring after don't make trees with your foreigners this gets. You must festival of final harvest. No sacrificial offering must be mixed with yeast. First harvest must be offered to the Lord. Moses stays on Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights again to write down the 10 Commandments because Moses is a slow writer, apparently. Moses seems like the guy who, you know that guy they call on, or girl, I guess, they call on at school who's not a great reader, and they just take forever to read out loud. And it's sort of like a balance between, they need that practice of reading out loud versus like, damn, why would you call this person for this section? You know, maybe give him a little bit easier of a section before you give him like all the hardest words. You know, but I also get what the teacher's doing. He's trying to teach, but that's what Moses seems like. It takes him 40 days and 40 nights to write 10 things down. Moses comes down. His face is radiant. After Moses, so this is what, chapter 35. So after Moses comes down, writing the 10 Commandments, his face is radiant and glowing because he saw the glow of God. And it's glowing so much that he wears a veil to cover his face. So, and he only takes off the veil to talk to God. So, overall point being, Moses would not be allowed in France. France, the French would be like, Moses, you can't do that. You can't do that. All right, chapter 35, Blueprint City, dude. Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. You have Sabbath instructions. You can't work on the 7th day, not even light a fire in your home. You just got to relax. It just lists all the offerings, the tabernacle. You're allowed to give the tabernacle, a recap of the blueprint of the tabernacle, and then the people get busy building the tabernacle, offer what they need to offer. All right. Now, on to 36. People give enough gifts for the sanctuary. Then the two people, Oholiab and I think Dexla, I wrote it wrong, whatever, build the tabernacle. They talk about building the tabernacle like to the blue, like the curtains were X feet by this feet and 27 feet by 14 feet because it's Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. 37, Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. They build the ark, the table, the incense altar, the lampstand. 38, Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. Building the burnt offering section, the wash basin, the courtyard, and then the straight up inventory of materials. You know, 39, Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. Clothing for the priest, the ephod, the chest piece, additional clothing. Moses inspects the work, and then they go through another rundown of what the Lord wanted, because it's Blueprint City, bitch, Blueprint City, bitch, and Moses approves. 40, the final chapter of Exodus, the tabernacle is completed. The Lord commands him to set up for the grand opening. Moses does that. So the Lord's glory fills the tabernacle. When the Lord's cloud is lifted, and the way the Lord's glory blesses the tabernacle is a cloud comes down and covers the tabernacle. And only when the cloud is lifted can the Israelites move. But if the cloud is on the tabernacle, they must not move. And that's the end of Exodus, guys. It is definitely a letdown of an ending, especially with how Exodus starts, with Moses leading the Israelites out of Egypt. There's a lot going on there. It's so intense, and there's plagues, and there's battles, and there's death. Every firstborn dies, and then just to end with, I would say, a good, out of the last 14 chapters, out of the last 16 chapters, a good 13 of them are just straight up blueprints. I mean, Exodus is great if you want to build your own tabernacle. It really is really great. If you want to build your own tabernacle, that's what Exodus is for. Post Prince of Egypt story, post, the story that everyone knows, the Charlton Heston, let my people go. Post that. Exodus is for you tabernacle builders out there. If you're out there trying to build a tabernacle, bro, 17 through 32 is for you. Blueprint City, bitch. Blueprint City, bitch. It's crazy, dude. I don't even know how I'm going to release this episode. I feel like it's not even worthy of its own Friday episode. How many minutes am I in already? 15. This is a 15-minute podcast. I wish I could do more, but like at a certain point it's like, bro, sorry for the burp. I don't need to go over the freaking blueprints, the freaking blueprints with you guys. I don't. You don't need to know the exact type of material the priest clothing is made of. Maybe you do. But I've chose to just be like, whatever about all of this. I was just so vastly disappointed. I thought there was going to be more action at the end of Exodus. Exodus ramps down, for sure. We do have Leviticus next. That's what's coming up, and I don't know when I'm going to start it. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm moving to Austin or not. You know what I mean? I'm unnecessarily stressed about the whole situation. I don't know. Mostly because I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do career-wise. I feel, I just feel. That's a good way of putting it. I just feel, I just feel. I can see the benefits of all the options, and I just got to pull a trigger. You know what I mean? In life, you just got to jump with 2 feet, And I got to make a jump soon. You can feel it. I don't know. As much as I look at this beautiful, beautiful place to record a podcast. As much as I like that, it's probably not the best place for me career-wise to stay at my parents' house, unfortunately. It's been nice. I can't complain. It's been amazing. But yeah, it's time. It's time for me to spread my wings and fly. I guess. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what's going on, But yeah, so we have Leviticus next. I'm going to start that hopefully sometime soon. That obviously is going to be an interesting one for me because the only thing I know about Leviticus is that's the one that is used for gay people shouldn't marry. This is like the big anti-gay book. I really think there's probably more than that in Leviticus. I doubt that this is the only one. If I had to, someone once told me Leviticus is just a list of rules. So we'll find out. We'll absolutely find out what's going on in there. But I'm very curious. It'll be a fun read. I might record it in Austin while I'm staying at Derek's place for 2 weeks. But yeah, this was the Exodus episode, guys. It's nice and short for y'all. I might release it on a special Monday episode. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to. Usually my Friday episodes now are a little bit longer, so I don't want to just do this for Friday. But who knows? We'll see. Infidels. The sleeper cell is still small, but it is growing, and I appreciate you guys. I know a lot of people have dropped off because. My content is my content. It's very polarizing. I get it. I'm gonna grow the beard back, so the dangerous brown look is gonna come back. The hair is staying gone. But I enjoyed this episode. I love you guys. Hop in the Discord, chat in the Discord if you want. Like I said, once I get settled down, I'll be able to do more things with the Discord. But other than that, guys, that's Exodus. I know. I wish there was more too. I'll see you soon.